Yo, it's Elut. Welcome back to the channel. Today I have a fun video series for you. Joining me is Mithril Zenith, friend to the channel. He's been here a couple times already, but I decided to bring him back. Mithril, say hi to the fans.
Hello, fans of Elut. Hope you've been having a great time.
Yeah, so we have a fun idea, I think. It started as like a shower thought. I was like, yo, what if like the Fire Emblem devs came in with like balance patches or patch notes or something? And then I thought, being someone who's played a lot of card games, I was like, what if Fire Emblem had a ban list? So in this series, we're going to kind of go through different eras of Fire Emblem. Today we're doing the GBA entries, and we're not going to go in and try to change things about them that would completely alter what the game is trying to do, like go way outside the scope. But if there's something rocky about it, if there's something that is unfair either for the player or against the player, if there's something that incentivizes quote-unquote toxic play patterns, or something that just makes the game not fun, we're going to come in and we're going to ban something, or we're going to limit something, or we're going to buff something that maybe needs it, that was possibly overlooked. Mithril, what game would you like to start with out of FE 6, 7, and 8?
Making me choose which one we start. I guess let's start at the top of FE6 if that's all right with you.
Sure, yeah, okay. I think what we'll do is we'll go by category. So like we'll talk bans first if there are any, and we're also, by the way, not gonna force a ban or a limit or whatever if we don't think the game actually needs it. But I think we'll just start with bans first. Do you have any bans for FE6? Stuff that you would just straight up omit from the game and would make it better in your eyes?
Fair enough, fair enough. So a lot of my bans or possible ban ideas are not necessarily player facing. I'm not going to say, ooh, ban Rutger, ban Melody, but I would say the only things that really stood out to me as just like, look, this is just too much. Most of them have to do with the legendary weapon maps.
Okay.
You know, like the X chapters, not even just getting there, but once you are there, they always seem to be some of the most annoying chapters, whether they have really obnoxious status staves or really obnoxious stage hazards like the light beams. And so one of the things I would look at is particularly Berserk staffs, particularly on the light beam map, where it's like, okay, you have to basically bait it out with Fae, or you're just gonna have a really bad time.
Yeah, and for anybody watching, what we're talking about here is 16X, with all like the bishops and the boltings. Oh my god, there's so many boltings. It's funny you bring this up because I mean, I love FE6 kind of as it is, but if there are low points in the game, it is the Gaiden maps. And the only possible ban I have for FE6 is also the Gaiden maps. Mine might be a little more extreme. I could see a world where the Gaiden maps are either completely optional, where basically the requirement in-game now to unlock the Gaiden is just what you have to do to get the legendary weapon at the end of the story chapter. And then you have the option to go there if you wanted like extra experience or something stupid. But I could also see just like if the Gaiden maps were just like poof deleted, I can't say the game would be worse without them, and that's really weird.
Yeah, I listed all the legendary weapon maps for the Gaiden maps, I guess, as a potential on my ban list as well, of just like, because it just, look, they are broadly the lowest points of FE6, and while I don't mind some status staves and whatnot, I think sleep and silence are fine. I think Berserk is a little bit much, but even on the maps that don't necessarily feature Berserk, I think they always have the most obnoxious gimmicks and don't really give you many of the tools to get around it unless you're just warp skipping the map, like warp skipping the water temple.
Yeah.
At which point it's just like, why even bother playing the map in the first place if you didn't have to?
Yeah, no, and that's exactly how I feel too, because like I would never like sit here and rant for 20 minutes about, oh, how much I hate 14X, that stupid water tile map or whatever, because like I'm out of there in 2 turns. You know what I mean? I'm not going to waste my own time there. But just because you can get rid of it fast, just because a stupid thing has a counter doesn't mean it's not a stupid thing. In card game terms as well. So I just
dies to removal.
Yeah,
it's not a problem, right?
Yeah, guys, don't kill my Kalia. She's fine. But I could see at the very least if the guiding maps were optional, them not being a problem, or if they were just deleted altogether. I don't think anybody would complain nearly as much as they do sometimes about like getting the true ending and all that sort of stuff. I think the worst offenders for FE6 guidance as far as like enjoyment playing the map itself is usually between like 14x, unless you warp skip it, but it's still just bad. 16x is kind of a slog on top of all the boltings and the berserks, and it's a little bit wonky to like warp skip depending on what you have available to you. And then I think the worst of all is 20x Sakai. That map is like unforgivable, in my opinion.
Brings me into one of my other potential bans of like, do we just get rid of the Sakai route, or do we, or is that we alter it? Because 20x Sakai is awful. And that was you have like 7 yurts, and the bow is randomly in one of them, and the other ones will just spawn like 6 enemies to immediately ambush you.
Yeah. No, it's like that map is awful because like the geography is awkward for your team. Like you have like 3 separate groups on different corners of the map. 4 split up, and there's a status staff on like most of the tents there or whatever. And on top of that, it's a random seize point. Now, for the Binding Blade veterans, you can soft reset and guarantee a certain tent to be the seize point, but a lot of people aren't going to know that, and it is going to be random. So you either get lucky on the first one, and the map kind of sucks. It's a little awkward, but it kind of sucks. Or you have to seize 6 of those things and deal with ambush groups 5 times. And it's just so terrible. Like, I don't have as much of a problem with the rest of Sakai. Like, 17, I believe, is the Fog of War map. It's okay. It doesn't really bother me. The one after that, where you have, like, the seize point and then, like, the little houses in a circle around it, that one's, like, a little weird.
That one, the only thing that really gets to me is Is that the one with the Swordmaster boss, or is that the one with the Nomad Trooper boss?
No, that is the Nomad boss, and he has like a brave sword, and he might have a brave bow, I believe.
Yeah, it's a brave sword and a brave bow then on him. Then it's the next one that has the
like
wind swords, and it's like a Swordmaster with, I think, a wind sword.
That's the light brand, but yeah, his name's like Kel or Gel or something. Yeah.
On a throne with like max speed or near max speed and a luck stat that exists. So it's like, okay, you are facing really low odds to hit him. Meanwhile, there are, is it turn trigger or area trigger reinforcements on that map where like the Myrmidons just come out of the houses all throughout the village?
I believe it's turn. I don't think FE6 uses zone-based reinforcements all that much. I'm gonna bring up the WAD page in general. It uses them in
21, but I think a lot of them are turn-based, at least the ones like in Sakai. But yeah, it's like Sakai, there are certain parts of that where it's just, you know, it's really fun fighting a boss that has max speed on a gate, and you're getting constant reinforcements that ambush you then, and you can't physically block every house that they could come from.
Yeah.
It's really great map design, and I know that's why most people say just play Ilya, which, I mean, if you have a choice, then sure, but I don't know, I like Su and Shin, so I usually end up going to Sakai anyway.
Yeah.
Because I like leveling Su and Shin far more than I like leveling Tate and Shanna.
Yeah. So, for 19 Sakai, the one with Kel, they are all turn-based. But on 18, with the circle of the houses, there are turn reinforcements, but randomly when you are inside the circular area with the tents, that's when random ones pop out of like the houses. Just to
and it is
clarify.
fully random because in my Fire Emblem 6 with 0 base stats playthrough, which I would not recommend anyone do.
Oh god.
I found out that even if you like save state and go back, do that, it is based on the RNG. So if you've advanced the RNG script in a different way, in a different order, you will just get different reinforcements. It is not set per turn. So
that's
have fun with that,
interesting.
I guess.
Yikes. But yeah, I mean, the Sakai route is like half fine-ish and just half like pretty awful. With the guided map, I think personally being the worst. 20 Sakai can be pretty rough as well, but it is, for me, it's like also kind of fun, but it can be pretty nasty if you don't know about like the boltings in the fog and all that
I was gonna
sort of
say
stuff.
The worst part about that are the double bolting plus berserk plus silence.
Yeah.
But if you know how to bait them, it's slightly less bad, or rather more tolerable.
Yeah.
But it still is like, hey, we placed this here just to make sure you're not bringing a dancer here because they're getting one shot unless you gave them like 2 Seraph robes.
Yeah.
But even then they might get doubled because bolting's super light in FE6 and those stages have a high speed stats. I don't know. This is just turning into a rant. I love FE6, but we're talking about specifically about the parts that kind of grind our gears a bit.
Yeah.
And so it's like either the status staves, or I guess this would be nerf, not limit, not ban.
Yeah.
Something with bolting, but then it seems like we more agree on the legendary weapon maps just are a problem.
Yeah, and I don't know, because here's the thing too, like if I had a thought of like, oh, how do we make 14x fun? How do we make 20x Sakai fun? Without like just completely making a new map, I don't really know how you do that.
Yeah, slight changes don't really fix the problems that are going on in those maps.
Yeah. But I would be interested when we get to the limit section to bring up some of this stuff again about like chapter 20 and things like that, because I think there's something there. Are there any other bands real quick that you have for FE6 that you want to talk about?
That was all that I had for FE6, so all the ideas that I had bringing in.
Okay. So for right now, I'm just going to make a note for myself. We're not finalizing anything yet, but I'm just going to write. We both agree on the guided maps. And then we can go to limits. So I'll lead off limits. I only have one that came to my head and I wanted to keep. And that is just reducing zone-based reinforcements on chapter 21. I will have a similar change in another game on this list today as well. It's not that I hate that they exist. I think zone-based reinforcements are fine, like as a concept. I just wish they weren't so repetitive and happen so many times.
You mean you don't like, hey, you crossed this one line, enjoy 3 turns of 8 paladins per turn.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just like, you could do that once, and I'd be like, oh, whoa. You could do it maybe twice, and I'd be like, okay, that's it though, right? But you do it 3 times, or in another map later down the line, they do it like 4 times. I just feel like, what are we doing here?
Plus, with the way the lines have been drawn, if you're not aware of exactly where the lines are, you're going to cross over 2 of those lines at the same time at some point in time, and then just be facing 12 Wyvern Riders and 2 Wyvern Lords for the next 3 turns.
Yeah, and this is one of those things too where like once you know about them, like if you know where all the zones are and you play around that and you get like a relatively fast clear because you know that, there is some fun in that. But that doesn't mean it's like not kind of awkward or that the actual number of enemies aren't excessive. I think they are a little excessive. 21 is like, for me, honestly, like one of the more stressful parts of Iron Manning this game. Like, I don't get stressed about like 14x or like 16x even. But 21, I'm like, dude, I feel like I'm gonna forget a zone, or, you know, if I'm not like looking at like a JPEG of it, or I'm gonna like, you know, be one tile off in like a zone where I think I'm safe and I'm gonna get caught off guard and just get wailed on. I don't know.
Even when you have a plan, sometimes it's just like, well, if Percival happens to get hit by every single one of these, and one of the killer lances gets a crit, he'll die.
Yeah,
he's a great unit, but he's not invincible. None of your units are.
And I feel like I'm having a flashback, because like in one of my Iron Mans, that exact thing happened where I was like on the south side of Murdoch, and I hadn't like gone up to fight him yet, and I was like, dude, Percival, you just gotta dodge one, man, just one. He didn't dodge a single one.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Plus,
man.
Also, I will say, with the sheer number of reinforcements, the map is very big. It's the biggest map, I think, in all the GBA games.
It's definitely up there, if it's not
Darkling
the biggest.
Woods might be bigger in FE8, but
yeah,
it's close.
Yeah,
but
so,
like Darkling Woods or Victory or Death or Cog of Destiny, one of those.
Oh yeah.
But I will say that that map also has, with the Gaiden maps, a time limit.
Yes.
And that time limit can be pretty strict just to get there in the first place, let alone you're being slowed down and swamped and might have to retreat back around these wyverns, and you're taking fights carefully around the Manicheets and all of this stuff. It creates a fun experience overall of just, like, you have to push forward, you have to get to that turn, but I do think that it might be a little bit too stressful to have all of that at the same time with the timer.
Yeah, and the thing is, if I recall correctly, you have 30 turns to seize, which sounds like a lot, but it's not the kind of map that you can just like blaze through, like use your full movement every turn, unless you are specifically playing around the reinforcement zones and you know where they are, and possibly even if you're like warping over the wall for a boss kill or something like that. Like, if you're
reminder
being
for everyone, you still have unpromoted Roy at this point, so
oh yeah, that's true.
He is full liability if he is on the ground, and even if he's safe, he's only moving 5 steps per turn unless you rescue him.
Yeah, which in that instance, it's like nerfing somebody else just by carrying him around. But it's like, 30 turns sounds like a lot, but if you aren't sort of behind the scenes with all the zones and all that sort of stuff, and you're not like completely prepared for everything on the fly, it can get up there, I would say. Like, you could definitely be like, you know, above Murdoch even at like turn 25 and be like stressing. Like, that's a real thing that can happen, I think.
Yeah. It's a map where it's like, as someone who enjoys FE6, I love that map, but I will fully admit it is overtuned.
Yeah, and I mean, we both love FE6. I wouldn't say I love 21. I think it's good until the reinforcements get excessive. Where it's
the
like,
final
okay, I've
block
seen
of
this
reinforcements
before.
around Murdoch as you're trying to fight the Manicheets.
Yeah.
Or trying to boot shop.
Yeah, boot shop, exactly. Which is one of the fun parts. I will give it credit for that. But I just feel like if you tone it down, because I believe they come in 3 times after they're activated. If they came in once or maybe twice, I probably wouldn't notice it as much, because like as you're cleaning up the first crew, you're probably coming in contact with the second crew, if not very soon. And then it's like, okay, well, you just started on the second crew, now the third crew is coming. It's like, Jesus, like, do we need to do all of this? And I don't think we really do. But that's my thought on that limit. That's the only limit I have for this game.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. The limit that I have brought for FE6 is also shared with FE7 and FE8. It is arenas should have maybe a limited number of times you can use them, a limited number of fights per map.
Oh, okay.
Because I think it is, and this is just me noticing what I think is an unfun play pattern, especially on console, where a lot of times what people will do who's like, I need to grind out my units, I want to grind out my units, they will clear out a map, like a Seas map, and then just sit at the arena non-stop with a unit until they either grind them to max or whatever level they decide to stop at arbitrarily, or until they run into Silver Sword Myrmidon, who kills them before they can retreat, and then they have to redo the entire map and all the grinding. And I think, unfortunately, this is one of those limits that I think it's like saving players from themselves type thing. I hate like putting it that way, but it's true. Because there are so many people that see arenas as like, this is some mandatory thing. This game is hard. I need to grind out arenas. Just like I need to stay and wait and grind out supports. You know, you really don't. But because that concept is so baked in for people, I think that there needs to be some sort of hard limit to prevent that.
Okay.
I'm not saying what the limit may be, but just like some sort of limit on the number of fights you can do in an arena, or maybe the number of turns the arena is open for, would be beneficial.
Okay.
And this goes across all the GBA games.
Okay. I also have a change that will go across all the GBA games as well. We'll get to that later. But the arena is interesting because I'm just not really an arena guy, like except in FE4, because that's a little different. But like, I just don't feel the need to. I don't really even think about it. I never feel like I have major money problems, but I know exactly what you're talking about with like, maybe it's just because it's a strategy game with, you know, number go up syndrome, where like, I know for a fact there are some people that like obsess over this kind of thing, and it does kind of promote, although it does have a legitimate risk, you know, there is permadeath in the arena. I sort of get what you're saying with like saving them from themselves in a way.
Yeah.
Where it's like they hone in on this thing because they can, and like the results are beneficial, and you know, like I said, number go up. So I wonder if
and you get
that
funny
would be...
stories of like Wade or Lot go into the arena a 0 and come out a total hero, you know?
Yeah.
But and so I don't necessarily want to like say that can no longer happen, but I am in agreement with you of like, we both really enjoy FE6 and neither of us really like arena meta. So I wonder if maybe that has something to do with it.
I mean, maybe.
You know?
That could be the case too.
But yeah.
I wonder if this could be like, so you're saying this would be like per playthrough of the map, right? You're not talking about like by unit. A unit can only go in the arena a certain number of times.
Yeah, so I was thinking, okay, make it like the map. You can do like 10 arenas on this map, or maybe this map, the arena is open until turn 15 or whatever the case may be, whatever seems fair for the map.
Okay.
You know, I don't have specific numbers in mind for where we would adjust it to, but this is just like one of my things that I would just adjust about all of Fire Emblem GBA is just how can we still have the arena be that fun and functional part of the game without incentivizing arena grind meta.
Okay. And I want to clarify something too, because I don't know it off the top of my head. Again, I don't really do arena stuff. I know you have to pay at least somewhat random amount of money to like go in, but it's different every time. And the amount of money being higher, I think, usually clues you in that like it's a stronger enemy. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I don't remember the exact specifics, but basically you get a random amount of money that you put in, and then there are like brackets of like within this to this much money at this level it's going to be this opponent with this weapon. At this to this much money at this level it's going to be that opponent with that weapon. And there are certain brackets of money that often, but not necessarily always, have like stronger enemies I
Okay.
don't know if it's a preset thing or if it's like they roll on different tables. This is stuff that I would have to, do a lot more in-depth searching for. Might actually be a cool idea of like a deep dive to do later, but
Yeah. I This is just a random idea I had off the top of my head, but like what if it almost took a little bit of inspiration from FE4's arena, where like let's say per map you get 5 tickets to the arena or whatever, like not literally, but like you can pay to go in the arena 5 times. And each time it's like a set amount of gold, it's a set enemy, and let's say there are 5, and it goes like increasingly difficult. That way, if you wanted to have like a more scrubby sort of growth unit go in for the early rounds, you could do that, but then use your stronger units for the later rounds to still get like the money out of it, not necessarily the experience. That could be like an interesting thing that maybe you gamble on, but you don't like abuse, if that makes sense.
I love that concept because that also solves one of my issues with the FE4 arena of you're trying to get everyone through all 7 waves of it.
Yeah.
And it's like every map, which just becomes, okay, here's your hour of chores.
Yeah.
Or your optimization of how you split it up on the map to like guarantee you get a full heal at this next castle, which is cool, which is fun, but I think kind of is not really the point of it.
Yeah, no, the FE4 arena is always just like, all right, before we play the actual map, we have like some major chores to do.
Yeah, and so I think bringing elements of that, because I think it is really fun to be like, hey, we have these set opponents, and at every arena has that different sort of set. I think that could add a cool lore thing. You could maybe add like, hey, some of the houses talk about who's in what arena. We're just creating our new like a ROM hack idea on the fly,
Yeah,
here.
pretty much.
Like, I think it's probably beyond the scope of this.
Yeah.
If like this is like our dream arena if it was designed this way. I think that's beyond the scope, but I do think that at very least, like, to put it most simply, a turn limit or a use limit or something would be beneficial just for play style purposes, play pattern purposes.
Yeah.
And going back to the whole card games connection, there are some bans that are implemented not necessarily because the deck is too good or too winning, but just because it promotes unhealthy, unfun play patterns, and people are stopping playing the game because this card is just too annoying.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether or not it's actually good. So.
Yeah, it might not even be like the best deck or the best card in the room, but like it's unfun for everybody. Like it's unfun for the person playing the card as well as whoever's against them, kind of thing. So yeah, I'm just gonna write down arena limits. We can leave it fairly vague at that.
Yeah, and that can be just kind of broad around all the different games.
Yeah. So is that everything for limits, or did you have something else?
Since we were talking about it, I would think I would like to nerf bolting a little bit, like just increase its weight maybe.
Oh, okay.
So it's more closer to FE7 or FE8. Just because I think bolting and siege tomes and status staves are a part of GBA Fire Emblem, and I think that they are something important to have exist, to plan around, to be able to shake up where you position weaker units like dancers and whatnot, and not to just like, hey, I formed the wall and nothing can get past my wall. But I think that getting doubled by bolting in FE6 is where the real problem lies, of like, these enemies are way strong sages with a really high magic, high speed, and they double you with bolting. And I think that shouldn't happen unless you were like a super slow unit. So I think just increasing bolting's weight, it doesn't have to be up to like 20 or something, but even just like 10 or 12 would alleviate a lot of those problems, because like in FE6, even some of your faster combat units can, like Milady, can get doubled by bolting sometimes.
Yeah, so bolting in FE6, I pulled up the wiki. Bolting in FE6 is the same might as in the other GBAs of 12, and it is 10 weight versus FE7 and FE8's 20 weight.
Oh, it is 10 weight already.
Yeah. What I will say is, I don't think I've personally noticed all that often like the enemy doubling with bolting, but like I've definitely seen Lou double with bolting, like for sure.
Fair.
I think
This
more
also
so
could just be my like most recent draft run or most recent, challenge runs. Speaking of like, I was drafted to use all the armor knights,
Oh,
so
yeah.
that's
Oh,
gonna
God.
be a problem.
Yeah, no, that I
look
could
out,
see.
Barth.
Look out, Barth. Yeah, I could see that for sure. I think like especially if we're talking like chapter 20 Sakai, I think what you need to do really is either nerf the might of bolting, which might seem a little weird, or what I'm more in favor of personally is just taking out one of the bolting sages.
So you're not getting like shot 2 to 4 times, it's like 1 to 2 times.
Yeah, ideally. Because like the sucky part about going into 20 Sakai blind, especially, is like if you move Roy up just a little bit and then one bolting comes after him and you're like, oh my god, that did like 34 damage or 32 damage to my 40 HP Roy. Whoa, please don't do that again. And then the second one comes in and tries to do it again. It's just like, that's a little excessive. I don't know.
Yeah, and I will agree on that. I think that on the maps that only have one bolting sage in a particular area, it's a lot less of a problem. Like even like, what is it, 16x?
16
the
does.
bolting.
Like
the bolting is problematic because that bolting doubles Faye, but Faye also, just shrugs it off with Dragonstone bonuses.
Yeah, she doesn't care exactly.
Yeah.
I do think the ones in like 16 are also fine because they're like so locked to a space. Like they only have like 4 spaces to move, and you can kill them turn 1 if you have a decently strengthed longbow unit. Shin can definitely do it more often than not. He might need supports or something. But even then, like it's easy to run past them and like avoid it. Whereas in 20 Sakai, it's Fog of War, by the way. I forgot to mention that. And they're in like a little section of the castle that is completely walled off. So you either have to longbow them after they have moved and attacked you with bolting already, or you have to warp someone in there to kill them, like preemptively. And if you don't know to do that, it's like, wow, Laram just died on turn 1 enemy phase. That was fun. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know.
Maybe the problem is then just 20 Sakai, specifically the dual bolting sage there.
Yeah.
Like making it only one. Because even then, you still have the bolting sage, the sleep staff, the berserk staff, and the silent staff.
Yeah, and
whatever it is.
And ballista's in there too. So you have plenty of stuff already, like firing at you. I think. I don't know that we need like a second tome that is like nearly one-shotting your lord. I don't know that that's like completely necessary.
Yeah.
So
okay,
if
that then could be a limit the number of bolting sages, so they're not like at least the bolting sages in specific areas that are difficult to avoid. Because in the center they have free reign of almost the entire map. It's just like a couple squares at the very bottom that they can't reach you at.
Yeah, exactly. And the weird part too is like if you happen to go like too deep on turn 1, then the bolting sage can attack you and not be in longbow range. So it's like, I hope you brought the warp staff at that point. You know what I mean? And that can be a little wonky as well. Whereas I think if you just have one there, then it's like, this is a danger, this is a problem that you have to solve. But again, it's kind of like talking about 21 with the reinforcements. It's like, here's a problem you have to solve, this is a threat you have to deal with. We're not going to make you deal with it like several times. You know what I mean? Like if you can prove that you know how to deal with it, I think that's kind of good enough.
Yeah.
Okay. So anything else to add for FE6? Limits.
We didn't talk about the unlimits.
Okay.
Yet. I think limit-wise we're good.
Okay. And then we'll go unlimits. I'll let you lead off on this one as well.
So my big unlimit for FE6 is the legendary weapons just need to be obtained for True End, not kept unbroken.
Okay.
If you're not going to change them so that way they don't like don't break, like maybe they turn into a broken weapon and they can be repaired or whatever, just like at the very least just like get all of them for true end if you're even limiting that, because I think that the collectathon is interesting and is an interesting part of FE6 of like, hey, beat these maps in a certain way to get all the weapons. But because they're limited to 20 uses, and if any one of them breaks, you don't get the true end, I think a lot of people just don't use them, even though having legendary weapons early available to be used is one of the most fun parts of the game.
Yeah.
So don't penalize them extra for breaking them, for using them.
Yeah, and I agree with this, just at a slightly different angle. I don't so much see the problem of like have all of them not broken by the time you seize the Zephyr chapter. I think the bigger pain point potentially is just that in this game, unlike, something like Shadow Dragon DS, if a character dies with it in their inventory, you don't get their inventory. And like that really sucks. Like if this was the kind of game where like the inventory went to the convoy after a unit died, that would be less of a pain point because you're not locked out for that reason. I don't super mind like the game you play, the mini game you play of like I want to use this powerful thing here, but it's limited. I don't want to overdo it. But like especially in an Iron Man setting, it's like I don't know, your fear or something with Durandal like gets a little unlucky on something you didn't expect, and then it's like, oh well, not only did you lose a unit and a really good weapon, but you don't get the true ending, and like that kind of sucks.
Yeah,
I do agree with that kind of pain point.
True end protection, as it were.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I'll just write.
I did all the steps. I did all the steps. Let me have the thing I earned. Don't punish me for, oh, whoops, you made one misplay on this map that locks you out of the whole true end.
Yeah, and I do agree. Like if the game just checked to see if like again we've been talking about like banning guided maps, but if the game just checked that hey, this person did complete all the guided maps, like I think they should just let you do the true ending. I don't think like omitting that or whatever like would make the game worse. I think it would kind of make it better a little bit. So I actually do kind of agree with that. It sort of goes hand in hand with the guide and map discussion that we had. Any other unlimits for you?
The only other one I can think of is, why is Bishop starting light rank E?
Oh, that's I mean,
in a game where you only have 2 light spells and then like I don't even know if Purge is in the game in FE6. Maybe it is. I don't know. But like you're stuck with lightning until like C rank or D or C rank, and then it's like lightning, and divine, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, cool. But Aureola basically just becomes what's his name's personal
it's
tome
like
instead
Yoder
of
or your
Yoder.
super Ellen that you wasted too much time on. I have been
There's
that
just
person.
Like, even if I'm going out of my way, I have to go way out of my way to get an Ellen ready. It's and maybe that is just a matter of weapon ranks are too slow to train in FE6. Maybe that's the other part of the answer, but
I think there's something
about that just feels wrong.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said, especially kind of like what you're saying, like with the new weapon unlocked at promotion not being E. Like, I think if we put it at D, I don't think that's game breaking or anything like that. It just kind of sucks, especially for like staves is especially one that's kind of weird because like on the one hand it makes units like Cecilia surprisingly useful. Because it's like, hey, someone with a free C rank or above with like Nime or something. Like getting Lu to restore is a pain in the ass. Like it sucks. It just sucks. So I feel like starting at D rank for a lot of these things on promotion would not be a bad change either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I have for Unlimits, though, so I'll let you take the floor if you have any other ideas.
Yeah, so I only have one for each category of FE6. And my unlimit is going to be the same here for all of the games. Just make supports faster. Like, this support system sucks so bad, kind of no matter what you do, and I'm not really interested in like overhauling the whole thing. But needing like 80 or 60, I believe in FE6 it's 60 for a C support, 120 points for a B support, 180 for A, and then in FE7 and 8 it's 80 for a C support. It's just so bad. Like, this is the kind of thing where, like, I think support bonuses are like pretty powerful, especially in FE6. I notice them probably the most, but again, it's like, it's promoting that toxic play pattern of like getting to the seize point and spamming end turn for dozens of turns. Like, that's just stupid. No one likes doing this. It's not fun. It's not interesting. But some people are still just gonna do it. Kind of like the arena thing we talked about. Some people are just gonna do it because they want to see the supports, they want to read them, they want the bonuses, whatever. I feel like you could either reduce the number needed to get the support or just make the rate like way faster. Like, if you got a C support in like 8 turns of standing next to each other, I think that'd be fine, honestly. Like, that's 8 turns, but you can get a couple naturally in the chapter without trying too hard, and it's not going to take you the whole game to like get to B or A. It's just excessive for no reason, I think.
Yeah, and I would agree on that. It's especially a problem in Fire Emblem 6, where sure, you're spending longer on most maps than 7 and 8 anyway, but having supports where it's like the C rank takes 50 turns of standing next to each other to get, that's too much.
And even in FE7 and 8, like, I was looking on the Serenus Forest like data pages, and you can tell they thought about this a little bit, because even though FE7 and 8 take more points like per support rank than FE6, a lot of characters have just higher starting numbers. Like, Elut and Hector, I believe, start at like 72. And you need 80 for a C. Like, that happens so quick, really without even trying. So you can tell they thought about it, but I just don't think they went far enough with like making it less obtrusive.
Especially when you have certain pairings that start very low and have really hard ones to get to. It's like, I get that they're supposed to be like, you know, not from the same social circles. They're more difficult to get, you know, they don't have history with each other, so maybe their support shouldn't be as fast, but does it really still have to take like I said, 50 turns?
Yeah, like, just to get one. Like, it's just bad. It's just bad. So yeah, like I said, that will be consistent for me with all 3 games. I think they could just tone it way down, because I'm not trying to overhaul the whole system, but like, if we're gonna keep it relatively faithful and not promote a really boring play pattern, that's what I would do.
Yeah, I'm fine with the way the bonuses are handled. I'm fine with the affinity system. I'm fine with, you know, having to be within 3 tiles. I'm fine with limited to 5 for balance reasons. Just look, if you're already limiting us in that many other ways, why not let us just get the supports and then deal with the placement puzzle?
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with that too. Like, every other aspect of the supports I'm totally fine with. It's just the getting them that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so funny enough,
that's FE6, and we've already talked for an hour.
Yeah, I know. Should we do one game at a time? My God, we do like to yap.
I'll let you decide how you want to split this up, but
okay. At the very least, we can wrap up FE6 before we move on. So what I have written down is, for bans, we have the guided maps, just as like a general talking point, whether that means having them be optional to actually like complete as long as you unlocked them, or just to kind of get rid of them altogether because they don't really provide fun gameplay. And then for the limits, like we talked about, the bolting sages being a little less crazy, specifically on 20 Sakai, and arena limits, as well as limiting some of the zone-based reinforcements on Chapter 21. Anything else to add there?
Nope, that seems like a decent list to me.
Okay. And then for Unlimits, we have some sort of true end protection, whether that means, you just have to complete the said guidance, assuming they're not banned, or just complete the story chapters in a certain number of turns so that you get the true ending, or not breaking the legendary weapon isn't like a factor. As long as you unlocked it, you get the true ending if you got all of them. Some form of protection for people to more easily get the true ending, especially for first timers. I think that's helpful. We have D rank for weapons and staves on promotion if it is a new weapon, just to alleviate some annoying grinding for lower ranks. Nothing too crazy, but it is helpful. And then just making supports much, much, much faster than they are right now. I think that's a pretty good list. Is there anything last minute that you want to add or change, or maybe you think isn't needed?
Not that I can think of. I think those are perfectly fine.
Alrighty, so that is going to be our FE6 ban list, and if you hate it, then what can I say? This is what it feels like to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Welcome to the club. It's more realistic that way. Alrighty, now it is time for the FE7 ban list. We did the FE6 ban list last time, and we're following it up with, do you call it Blazing Sword or Blazing Blade? I know that can be divisive for some people.
I've been told by my comments that no matter which way I say it, it's wrong.
Yeah, that sounds about right. For me, I feel weird calling it Blazing Blade. I don't know why. It sounds a little goofy to me. I'm used to calling it Blazing Sword, but so I guess I'll lead this one since you led the FE6 one. I guess we'll just talk bans first. I really only have one ban off the top of my head, but I could potentially see more, depending on what we maybe talk about as we go through this. I personally would ban the rain and snow movement penalty mechanic. I just really hate it. I'm not convinced either that it super adds like an interesting aspect to actually playing the map. Like, I've heard the argument before that, the rain is there to make it so you're not getting bombarded by everybody at once. But at the same time, it is a route map. Like, I don't know. Like, you still have, like, Marcus, who's insane. Hector still isn't bad. Like, you have, like, some decent, good units that are gonna be generally fine anyway. I think the most annoying part of it is, like, if you start to go forward, then get stuck in the rain, it's harder to retreat, if anything, than it is, like, beneficial to play on defense, if that makes sense. Yeah. I just don't like it. I don't think it adds anything interesting to the maps. I'm willing to be proven wrong, but I just feel like the game would be better. It's only like, what, 2 maps? It might be 3. That's a
one
thing.
In Lin mode, there's the Eric map, there's Pale Flower of Darkness.
Okay. I forgot about the Lin mode one, to be honest.
That might be the only 3 maps. I'm trying to think. There might be a 4th one, but if so, it's like super late into the map, like on turn counter or something.
Okay.
But that was going to be one of my bans as well on FE7, to be honest.
Let's go.
So I can talk about this as well. Is just so weather is a thing that only existed in Fire Emblem 7, was never brought back for good reason. Like, outside of it was brought back as like a thematic of like, this is why this map has Fog of War, or something like that. But it only existed in Fire Emblem 7 as weather that changes during the map of like, at this turn point you get rain and now all your cavalry are slowed. The only map that I think potentially gains somewhat from it, and that also is mostly related to the challenge runs or draft runs that I've done of FE7 is
The Eric chapter.
Kenneth Paleflower of Darkness.
Oh, okay.
With the snow, it allows them to spawn the wyverns and have them approach you slowly, but then you can arrange your units how you want. And if you're inside, you're not affected by the slowing down effect, which I think is a cool element of that, of like, oh, I want to move inside now, so I'm not slowed by the... Like, I think that I think that stuff like that shows that there are ways in which it could have been used more effectively. But I do agree that largely it's ineffective and it's more frustrating to the player than it is like a, hey, plan around this type thing and use it against your enemies situation.
I do think it's telling that it generally was not ever brought back after this game. The only map that comes to mind off the top of my head that is sort of inspired by this is, if you recall the boat map in Birthright, it's the same map in Conquest where you get Xander the first time and there's like the money reward for how fast you do it. So in Birthright, it's all dragon veins. So it's not something that happens out of your control, which I think is notable. And basically what happens when you hit the dragon vein is it just makes like a mini tornado for a couple turns, or it might stay there the whole time. I forget exactly. And it just slows flyers. It's like mini sections of like Hinoka's map.
Okay.
So it's like, it's there, it's an idea, it's something you can do, because there are a lot of like wyverns and there's a couple Kinchis and Pegasus Knights on that map. But if you find that annoying or you don't need it, you also don't have to interact with it at all. And like I said, it is still in your control. It can be a part of your planning in a much more intuitive way than getting halfway through the map and being like, oh, I can't move now. Whoops.
Definitely. And that's something that I think Fates did really well with the Dragon Vein system, is that it took all of these items of like, hey, we want to have these cool map effects and have things change on the map as you're playing it. Wouldn't it be cool? But then by allowing the player or certain enemies at certain triggers to be the one affecting it, and then being very visible with how it affects it, I think it is a much stronger implementation of the idea that was explored in FE7, but not really executed on well.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, no, I agree. That is my only ban for FE7, though. So if you had anything to add here, feel free.
The only thing that I have to add is, again, I brought it up in FE6, Berserk Staffs. Of why is there a Berserk Staff on the female shaman in Cog of Destiny, and why is there a Berserk Staff on the shaman in the final map? Where it's like you open the door right after doing the boss rush, and surprise, one of your units now gets berserked. Because it's not just that there are Berserk Staffs, it's that they're super highly accurate Berserk Staffs on maps where your healer is going to otherwise be disposed of, or getting silenced at the same time. And, oh, congratulations, you've kitted yourself out as a boss killer. Now your boss killer is berserk, and all your units look like bosses. So, it's one of those things where it's like, I agree largely that status staves can be planned around. I think bringing in restore staves and whatnot is fine, but Cog of Destiny, and especially the one on the final map, is just, it's too much of a middle finger to the player, in my opinion.
Okay. So, just ban Berserks on those two maps specifically is basically what you're saying. Not like ban the Berserk Staff in general, like you wouldn't, or would you delete it out of the game entirely, do you think?
I might delete it out of the game entirely, though I will say having the Berserk Staff in player hands feels real fun, especially on like Cog of Destiny, berserking an enemy hero and letting them go to town. You know, there are fun stuffs you can do with Berserk Staff, but much as I'm like, you know, status staves should exist in Fire Emblem, I think the Berserk Staff is almost always an extreme level of feels bad, where if you are not already prepared to deal with whoever they decide to berserk ahead of time, you've basically, not necessarily lost already, but depending on who they berserk, you could have just lost the game,
Yeah, and I will say too, I definitely think it's like more egregious on Cog of Destiny. I mean, that chapter we're going to talk about a little more in the future as well. So I definitely see where you're going there. And I also am someone who likes status stabs. Like, I just think stabs are fun. But I do think there's a different angle that you can take, like, depending on the game. Like, when we eventually talk about Thracia, if we get that far in this series or whatever, I'm gonna defend most stabs in that game pretty hard, because that's just kind of what the game does, and that's what the game kind of teaches you to prepare around for like 90% of it. So at that point, it's like, you might not like it, like Thracia might not be your thing, but like at least the game is kind of consistent with itself. And you get way more power than the enemies will ever have in that game as well. But with things like Cog of Destiny, like that map sucks already so much. But like to add that on top of it is like pretty cringe. So I do kind of get that. Anything else you wanted to say for this, or any other bans?
Not specifically. Yeah, I mean, you took my other one with the weather, so...
Okay, yeah. I think most people will like that change. Everybody will be cheering in their YouTube reactions for this patch note. For limits, I guess we can just talk about it now. This is similar to my change in FE6 for 21. Limit the reinforcements on Cog of Destiny. You do not have to have them come in 4 times on a route map. Like, that's disgusting to me. It's already, like, so enemy bloated already. I think what you could either do, and I thought about this a little deeper than just like, oh, this is annoying, because I think what you either should do is either half the time that they come out, so like maybe they come out once or twice instead of 4 times, and you make them a little bit stronger. Not all enemy types, mind you, but certain ones maybe you could, just to maybe offset the loss of experience if you're worried about something like the ranking system. I've never done a ranked run of FE7, but I know the XP rank is like kind of the more annoying ones to get. So I wonder, with changes like this, I don't want to be like too heavy-handed in a way that would like maybe screw this up. Like if I did this for every map and just cut the game's enemies in half, obviously that would have like a terrible consequence on the XP rank. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to break that part of it. But I think COG is just so enemy spammy for kind of no good reason. And the fact that it is a route map and not like a seize or a defeat boss just makes it so much worse. It's just not fun at all. So that's a limit that I would have for COG. Absolutely. You could probably argue that on a couple other maps too. I would be open to that, but COG I think is probably the worst one. So I wanted to bring that up.
COG definitely. Victory or death, I think, as well. Some of, especially like the shamans at the very end, can be,
I could see that too.
A bit of a swamp to wade through, but yeah. Yeah,
and then I'm just thinking if there's anything else. That is also my only limit for FE7. FE7 on my list actually has the most unlimits compared to anything else, if you can believe that.
Okay. We'll see how much we align on those then.
Yeah.
Because my only other limit that I have, or that I have right away on FE7 was my global GBA limit of arena should limit the number of fights per chapter.
Okay.
I think arena gameplay is fine. Arena gameplay in FE7 in particular makes you feel really clever by using the rings. Gives an encouragement for players to use some of, like, particularly Nice's Grace.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And I think, there are reasons to use the rings and to encourage players to do so, buff their chances in the arena, but I think allowing endless arena runs once again just creates that same sort of situation where it's like, if there's any unit that I have grinded more in the arena in any Fire Emblem game outside of like FE4's just nonsense,
Yeah.
it's Bartray in FE7.
Oh, yeah.
Because trying to get him to level 5 promoted to recruit Carla in a 100% recruitment run
Oh, jeez.
is a little rough. But also, the number of times that I've basically made him into a hero by it's like, okay, I'm bringing in, level 5 or whatever he starts at, Bartray, into the arena. I'm going to Ninissi's Grace and then use Rescue Trick to keep him, to keep that one use of Ninissi's Grace on him the whole time. And I give him the Metis' Tome as well, because why not? And then it's like, okay, suddenly I have a Bartray that has 15 resistance, and I'm like, where did that come from?
Jeez, yeah.
The number of times that can happen is fun. So I'm not saying that arenas shouldn't exist, but I do think that, again, maybe this is a limit that turns they're open, because they're on maps that are kind of awkward to get to and awkward to clear, but then once you clear them, it's like you can just kind of sit on them forever.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point, bringing up like the different dancer rings for this sort of thing, because this is way more abusable in a basic sense than it is in FE6, I think.
Mm-hmm. While there are still, Silver Sword Masters waiting in the arena to mess you up, they don't have plus 30 crit on them, and they, when you have plus 10 defenses that are not being accounted for by the arena's algorithm, you can just kind of get away with a lot more. Yeah,
exactly. I like that idea, I think, for all of them, because you said you're going to bring this up in FE8 too, I think.
And FE8 has other issues with its grinding stuff, other things that we'll talk about with limiting, but just for arenas specifically, yeah.
Okay. Any other limits that you had?
I've been trying to think of any, and ultimately none come to mind right away. Okay. Other than, and this is something that I think would be more of just a combination of a limit and an unlimit, just a broad change of FE7, that I wonder if it takes away too much from what FE7 is, but moving some of the power from bosses to other regular units, because FE7 is a game where the bosses and the boss's bodyguards are way stronger than every other unit the enemy fields on the map, and the enemy fields a ton of units.
Yeah, well, okay, I didn't even think about this, but I kind of like where you're going. What's the boss's name on Battle Before Dawn, the Paladin? Do you remember?
Battle Before Dawn.
It's on the left side of the map. I can't think of the name.
Yes, the mini boss.
Yeah. I think it starts with an M or something, but...
let me look that up real quick.
Regardless, one thing that is so weird about that, and it's not just that map, it's just one that popped in my head. It's there's some sort of bug, correct me if I'm wrong, where bosses get double hard mode bonuses or something like that.
Yes,
in FE7?
Maxime. Okay.
Yeah. So it's I do kind of agree. It's you're fighting swarms and swarms of absolute scrubs, and then a random boss like Maxime comes in and wait, you have stats? I was falling asleep over here. I kind of agree that the difference should not be maybe as drastic as it is at times.
Yes, in Hector hard mode specifically, I think some of the bosses get double hard mode bonuses. I think it's because they get them from Elut hard mode and then again from Hector hard mode, where Maxime goes from having, well, I'm not sure if that's exactly the case, but Maxime goes from having 40 hit points, 14 strength, which are actually the exact same stats as Elut normal mode and Hector normal mode for some reason, to having between 57 and 63 hit points, 20 to 24 strength, 18 to 23 skill, 16 to 19 speed. Just absurd.
Jeez. Yeah, no, that's That's insane, like, compared to, like, everything else on that map. Like, I don't know.
Basically double the stats of Eliwood hard mode or Hector normal mode.
Man, wow. It's been a long time since I looked at, like, the actual difference, but no,
So it's like,
that's nuts.
the biggest offenders are Maxime, that paladin, Sonya, and the Morph sisters. Not Ursula, but one in the Water Temple and the one in Victory or Death.
Right.
Whichever brother you fight in Cog of Destiny, based on your route choices.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think some of the bosses in the final push, but I don't remember for sure.
Okay.
But there are just a handful of bosses that are just absurdly overpowered compared to everything else around them, and I think a little bit of toning down is in order, but at the same time, if you're toning them down, and this is just kind of in general, I would improve some of the quality of the units you fight in FE7, maybe at the cost of some of the quantity, though again, I know that, you don't want to mess with XP ranks too much.
Yeah, I mean, I like this idea. Like, objectively, I like this idea. I do question, and you already sort of brought it up, like, how warping is this from, like, what FE7 is trying to be? I think at the very least, an argument for, like, not having bosses get double hard mode bonuses, because, like, there's no way that's intentional. I refuse to believe that.
Yeah.
Especially because FE7 seems to be a relatively buggy game in general, in, like, these really weird ways, like,
Surprisingly so for some people, but yes.
Yeah, like how in the ranking system, again, like, your turn counts don't include the fact that you have to play the Hector specific chapters in the turn counts, so you just have to, like, play the rest of them, like, a little faster. It's like, I don't know, like, I don't think that's intentional. I think that is a mistake. So it's like, I don't know. I think certain things could be ironed out in that sense, but I don't think Maxime should be, like, as much of a jump scare as they currently are compared to, like, most of the other things you run into on that map and things like that. I could agree with that, I think.
Yeah, and I can agree with, FE7 being the Fire Emblem game where the bosses are the scary things. I think that is an identity that it has for itself and is perfectly acceptable, especially for a game that ends with a boss rush. But at the same time, like, it just feels like it's a little bit too weighted in favor of the bosses over, like, everything else.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there is nothing wrong with, like, having the boss be something that not everybody can take on. I think that is kind of how it should be.
Yeah. But it feels like we're in a WoW raid. It's like you have the bosses and then you have the trash, At some point you have to ask, why is the trash still there?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I like that idea. Is that everything for the limits then, you think?
Yeah, that's all for the limits that I have. And I'm not even sure if that last one counts as a limit. Like I said, it's just kind of like an adjustment, but
I would count it as a
limit.
limit.
Off to the side.
It's close enough for me.
It's an errata.
Yeah, it's an errata. Oh god, don't get me started. Okay. And then I guess we'll just go to the Unlimits. So this is my most bloated category. I'm gonna rapid fire the easy ones out of the way. I think FE7 English should have ×3 bonus damage, like the Japanese version. I don't think most people would argue with this. I don't know why I know why they felt the need to do that, but it's a stupid reason. Just bring it back to 3. I think every game should pretty much be 3 under normal circumstances. And make supports faster. Like I said with FE6, there's no reason for them to take so long. And like I said earlier, in the FE6 portion, you can tell they thought about it a little bit for characters that have a background with each other, like Hector and Eliwood starting very, very close to a C support is nice, but that doesn't make the B and the A support any less tedious to get. It's still just a really dumb system, really dumb play pattern. And then, for me personally, I would give Swordmasters 30 crit bonus like an FE6, and I think there's an argument, I think, for, like, I don't know about that because that also means the enemies get it. But at the same time, it would help bridge the gap, I think, a little bit for Swordmasters in a game where Swordmasters feel kind of useless a lot of the time. I feel like, if anything, they need it more. I don't even think 15 crit is like a crime or something, but like on top of everything else, 1 to 2 range being so dominant, I feel like you should just let the flashy character have a little bit more fun more often. That's just me personally. I could be argued out of it though.
Yeah, I would agree on that. At least for FE7, where it's like, it's a game that's so dominated by 1-2 range weapons, in part because of enemy quality, in part because their accuracy is just too good and they're too plentiful.
Yeah.
But I also would say that, if we're changing Swordmasters, why not give Blade Lord a little bit of help too in that regard?
Yeah, that's fair
Lynn's
too.
unique class, because that way she
yeah.
doesn't feel like a Swordmaster minus. Like, that's a problem that I had with Erica as well in FE8. Is like, sure, she gets a mount, but she kind of feels like Swordmaster minus because she is locked to swords and doesn't get the crit.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. I'm fine with buffing Lynn. I think that's okay. Lynn just has the class that is like, this would be sick in FE6. It's been proven by somebody else, but she's not in FE6.
Yeah.
But, and then I have one more, but it is a little bit on the spicier side. So if you want to get your easier unlimits out of the way first, I'd be okay with that. And then we can come back.
Sure. First up, my first unlimit is to give the player Heaven Seals earlier.
Oh, okay.
I think you should be getting the first one maybe the first one could be after Dragon's Gate, you get one. And then maybe you get the second one at the start of Unfulfilled Heart, which is where you get the first one normally.
Okay.
And maybe you get a third one, but like, you can keep maybe the Main Lord Force promotion, but I hate that it's so late. But if Heaven Seals were given earlier, and maybe make them treasure so that they don't like penalize you for using them if you're on a ranked run super hard, because they account as like 25,000 gold or something absurd, or 10,000 or 25,000, something crazy. Basically, it's like, if you're on a ranked run, you're not allowed to promote your other lords, which should not be the case. Give people more of a reason to train and use the lords. People love the lords. People want to love the lords. They just are not given an opportunity to really feel like they're doing something. It's like, ooh, wow, Eliwood promotes into Cavalier with higher caps. Lynn promotes into Swordmaster without a crit bonus, but with bows. Hector promotes into I'm an Armor Knight now.
Yeah.
It's like, these units are not bad, but they get way overshadowed, in part because they, I guess Eliwood especially has a really rough early game, but in part because they just promote so much later than other units that they get left behind.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that idea quite a bit, especially because I feel like, just with FE7's, like, for lack of a better word, like, its atmosphere, like, its sort of story setting and all that, like, it feels weird that the lords are like so often not completely forgotten about, but like they take so many L's kind of for no fun or good reason. So I do actually like that change, and as we sort of hinted at earlier, buffing like maybe a Lynn crit bonus, or I mean, geez, buff the Soul Kadi. That thing is awful. You know what I mean? Like,
here's an idea. Maybe make it so your lords get like unique force promotion opportunities. Like, I could see Eliwood force promoting after Dragon's Gate,
Yeah.
Give him that after his nice pep talk from Ninian and everyone else. Hector can force promote, maybe he can force promote an Unfulfilled Heart, and then Lynn, we can find a place for her to promote.
Yeah.
That seems reasonable. Maybe Living Legend. Sure. How about that?
Yeah. No, I agree with that too.
Because I think if you then it's supposed to be a very character-focused narrative. Hook the characters in, and then it's like, sure, I'm promoted, but we still can't beat Nurgle. We still need those legendary weapons, you know?
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's
yeah.
sort of what I mean with like the atmosphere. It's like it's supposed to be like a friendship is magic kind of like a story. It's supposed to be a little bit feel good at times. I don't know, like make the iconic Lord Trio actually like kind of decent. I don't know. I think that'd be fun kind of for everybody. Because most people, I think, want to play that way anyways. I think a lot of people want their lords to be good. They want to use the lords, but like, especially in a game like this, like when you get into like the objectivity of it, it's hard to really like fight for them sometimes. In terms of like actually giving them the time of day, and I don't like that. I think they could definitely be having more fun.
Definitely. My only other minor one is assassins should still be able to steal.
Okay.
Because just as like, look, assassins are never going to be good anyway. Matthew or Legault assassin were never going to be good anyway in combat.
Yeah.
At least don't penalize them for promoting right after you get the contract. You should be able to have some fun with them instead of being like, hey, I have this contract, but I can't promote my good thief because I still need them to steal an item in Hector's duo map.
yeah. Okay, I'd be fine with that. I don't think that's like game breaking or against the
FE8
spirit
lets
of
assassins
the game.
still steal, so
Yeah. So you can tell that they thought about it at the very least. Okay, I'm on board with that. All right, are you ready for my spicy unlimit?
Bring on the spice.
Okay, so Battle Before Dawn, I think, is a really cool map. It is, in my opinion, one of the high points of FE7 for me personally. But I think it could be even better. And this is taking some inspiration from a game like Thracia. I think Battle Before Dawn would be better. I think it would be more fun, and it would still function properly and in the same way if you made Zephiel, Nino, and Jafar blue units at the start of turn 1. And the reason I say this is because it reduces the annoyance of possible AI green unit being dumb moments that cause a game over. It still is not like clashing with the story because Nino is kind of trapped. She has nowhere really to go. You still have to rush your entire team down to save them. And Jafar's whole role in the story at this point is just to kill everybody around him so that Nino can escape. But when you, as the player, now have control of that, you can more accurately judge the danger of all 3 of those units. You can move them around, you can look at their combat windows, and you can decide what is worth the risk, because you still have to get down there. It's not like you've trivialized the entire map now just by being in control of Jafar. Jafar still only has like 20 attacks with the Killing Edge. You still need someone else to get down there to help him. You still need someone to, get closer to Nino. Nino, I believe, also faces crit from that stupid bishop or whatever. The monk, yeah. So it's like what if she, as a green unit, like doesn't heal or, just doesn't move, gets crit and dies, and it's like I have to reset for that? That's really dumb. Or Zephiel moving off the pillar and then healing is really dumb. And I think it would just make it less frustrating, but keep all of the good parts of the map intact. I also would be interested in the idea of like maybe just Zephiel and Nino are blue units, but Jafar is still a green unit, and you still have to talk to him with Nino. But in general, I think you could just reduce the green unit cringe from this map, and I think it would be a lot more fun to actually play. If this were the case, I would probably talk about this map a lot more often. Because this is one of my favorite things that Thracia does several times. In Chapter 9 of Thracia, you have the deemed Selfina Scrub Squad on the other side of the map, just sort of hunkering down at a fort, waiting for your main party to get there, because they will need you there. They don't have a bunch of healing items to just sit there and like be fine. None of them are super bulky. they're fine enough to hold out, but you need to get up there still. You need to get up there, one, because it's an escape map, but also they do need your help. And it's a similar thing with Glade in Chapter 13. He is generally speaking fine, but it would suck a lot if he was a green unit on that map and, moved around or attacked on his turn when he did not need to, or when he didn't need to risk something. And you can look at their combat windows. You can risk assess yourself more accurately, and I think it would be an incredible map if this were the case. I want to hear your thoughts.
I did an entire video on why I think Battle Before Dawn is the best worst map possibly in Fire Emblem, of just like, it is so close in my mind to greatness and being this ultimate memorable awesome map, but the things that are wrong with it are so frustrating because they are out of the player's control. And yeah, giving you control as blue units of these characters, maybe not even Zephyl, because Zephyl is like, sure, that's the whole thing, is he's never going to be your unit anyway.
Right.
And so not giving the player that, like, oh, but what if,
Yeah.
But at the very least, giving the player some level of control over like Jafar or Nino, just to be like, hey, I need you to, holding this choke point ain't doing it. You need to chase down that Sword Reaver fighter, or that one mercenary with a steel sword who's gonna one round Zephyl, and being able to make those choices, make those decisions, use more carefully that very limited killing edge, I think would be a very powerful move and would shift the dynamic way out of the realm of where Battle Before Dawn is now, where unless you're doing absolute perfect like dancer rescue chain movements, the minimum turn in which you're getting to Zephyl is after the minimum turn. If Jafar makes a bad move or dies to an unlucky crit, Zephyl dies.
Yeah.
Of like, at the very least, you don't have to be playing hyper optimally just to get to a safe position where the rest of your units can help. It is this mad dash to Zephyl to rescue him, which I think is fine. I think is a good thing. I don't want to take that out, because that is, a majority of the whole charm of the map, of like, you're dashing towards Zephyl, surprise, Maxime jump scare, surprise, Ursula jump scare.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's bad, but I do think that, a little bit more control, not having to rely on green units doing not the worst move ever, would make that map significantly more playable.
Yeah. And part of the idea here, sort of as I said earlier, at least hinted at, is that when you make a change like this, you have to also be careful of like, well, does this like break the realm of like what's happening in the story? And I really don't think that it does. No. I don't think you moving Jafar a little bit more to the right and killing things is really like breaking the story in half or something. It's a helpful move for the objective of the map, but that's what Jafar was doing anyways. He's just killing whatever he sees in sight. Maybe the story in your head is he ran to the right first, and he started killing stuff over there so Nino could escape. You know what I mean?
And at this point in the plot, it's like, sure, they're not, allied with the main party yet,
right,
but they are on the same side, and they are on the player's side. The player is watching this, has been watching it, all the background scenes, all of everything. They see the betrayal, they see, all this setup, and, the player's eyes were just on Jafar and Nino. They were not on, Hector and the gang.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
in the cutscene right before this. Yeah, why not give the player control over them right away?
Yeah, and it's because that's the thing, you put it really well, is like, this is, they're both on the side of the player is the important part. By making them blue units, it's not like I'm trying to imply like, oh, they're taking orders from Mark, like from outside the castle or something stupid. But like, this is what is happening in the story. Make all of its aspects more fun for the player, and I think that would do that. I would seriously gush about this map all the time if that were the case. It's just a little bit of Thracia brain thrown in there that I think would make it better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I said, it's on that edge of like a couple of tweaks, a couple of fixes, with being able to consistently get there without rescue dancer strats, makes it an A tier, if not S tier map. But as it stands, with the degree of randomness of you can just lose totally beyond your control, it kind of has to go into that garbage tier based on my way of rating maps. So yeah, that one fix would, if not solve all the problems, would at least alleviate the vast majority of them.
Yeah, exactly. And it can come down to like little things too, where like you have the option as the player to say like, okay, well, I don't need to attack somebody on this turn because I'm not trying to take extra damage with these two characters that are by themselves. Or you make the choice of, okay, well, this unit is weak. I'm going to prioritize attacking them so that I don't take their attack. You know what I mean? Whereas, like, otherwise you're just praying to God, basically. You're just like, please don't let the green unit do something stupid.
And it's like, yeah, do I want Nino to move to try and help Zephyl, even though that puts her at severe risk? Or do I leave her safe in the corner, knowing that she's not going to end up really helping all that much?
Yeah.
It's up to you then, instead of being left up to the AI, which just kind of, yeah.
Yeah, and I just hate that moment too, where it's like Zephyl or somebody will be like, I don't know, 2/3 health. And it's like, okay, bro, like, if you heal, you will live guaranteed. But if you don't, or, like, if you get unlucky crit, God forbid, or something like that, you will not live that. And they don't heal themselves. And then the worst happens. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen Marcia do this on Chapter 3 of Path of Radiance. It's like, okay, you're at, like, 12 out of 18 health or something. Like, please Vaughn. Like, if she doesn't, it's just so bad. It's like, oh, God. Yeah. I hate that kind of stuff. And I think it's so easily alleviated with this kind of thing.
Relying on green units to do important tasks is never something that goes well in Fire Emblem, and so this is the most important task a green unit has ever had in a mainline Fire Emblem game. Yeah. Maybe it shouldn't be a green unit making those decisions.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's not like these are, you know, nameless villagers that are just running away from, like, strong enemies or something that you're trying to protect. Like, these are people that will join your team very shortly. And like I said, the play pattern does not change. You are still rushing with your entire team. You're getting down to them as fast as possible because they can't take it all on their own. But I think the map would be so much better if we did that. Yeah. So, end of rant. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. All right. Sheesh, after that.
I believe that's it for our Unlimits, though. So you want to run down what our list was, see if we like it or want to strike anything from it?
Yeah, we'll try to finalize some of this too. So for the bans, we have the weather bans. They suck. Not really too much else to say. And then you had a ban for Berserk Staves. I definitely agree on Cog of Destiny. The final chapter, I am a little bit less, like, completely sold on. But I could be sold on it, I think.
It's more so that the way that it is that you've just dealt with all the bosses. And then the door opens up to Nurgle, and then suddenly he has a sleep staff. I believe it's a sleep staff and a berserk staff. Maybe it's a silent staff and a berserk staff. People flanking him, shamans, druids, whatever they are. And they have like 30 tile range. And he starts, like, the last door that opens up, if I remember right, is going to be like maybe the bottom left, or like the, I forget which door is the last one that opens up, but you are not going to be within one turn of movement towards him, and you might be spread out dealing with some of these bosses, especially if you tried to take them on faster by unlocking doors yourself.
Okay, I'm gonna pull up the map real fast, because I forget the door order as well.
Yeah. regardless, it's you then have okay, they will move and berserk you, and you have it literally is like 15 tiles between you and where Nurgle is.
Oh yeah.
And while
Okay.
and while their berserk range, while their accuracy will fall off over time, you need to have like max speed and high resistance in order to have anything close to a reasonable chance to evade it because their magic is just so high.
Okay.
So
I did bring up
that's
the map here quick. So the order with each room is bottom right, top left, middle right, bottom left, top right.
yeah.
So
Top right
you'll
being
be...
the Reed brothers.
Yes.
But you're not necessarily dashing into that room to take them on while they're supporting each other.
Yeah, no, exactly. I agree with that. You're not like rushing down that room like super easily at the very least. And although you are closer to the Nurgle room than you maybe would be on a lower one if it was in a different order, I do agree you probably need to like set up a serious like dance if you want to bum rush that top room. And if you're not ready to do that, maybe there's something to that, because it's not like they're there open on the map the whole time and you know about it and like you're planning around it possibly or anything like that. It just kind of happens.
And it's the decision moment of like, if you're closer, they are more accurate. So if you charge them, they're going to basically 100% berserk someone. If you run away and lure them out, they're going to maybe like 70% berserk someone. But at the very least, then you can probably use a restore staff, unless you also get slept or silence, or that's the person who gets berserked. And then, deal with it and be fine. Just, 2 turns of that, wait it out, and you're fine. I just think it's a fundamentally like, hey, we're boss rushing, we're done with the boss rush, let's get Nurgle. But let's totally run directly away from him in order to not get berserked. Like, what's the play pattern here? What's the ideal play pattern? Do we do that, or we all bum rush forward? Someone's gonna get berserked. Oh well, let's kill Nurgle before the berserked person can take a swing at one of us.
Okay.
Those are kind of your 2 choices there.
Okay. No, I get that. Especially when the thought is like, oh, I guess we're going back down. It's like you can't even have fun on the final chapter. You can't even like just go at them, And the hit rates being so high is, I mean, that's true of like certain people in FE6 as well. But again, it's like maybe it is more cringe because it's the final, or because they're not on the map at the start. You don't see them. You don't know.
Yeah.
Or any number of other things. So,
and also because this is the last time you have you no longer have access to the convoy. So if you didn't happen to bring a restore staff to the very last map, you can't go back and get one. You can't deploy Merlinus here. The convoy is gone.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Okay, I think we can keep both then. So those are our bans. It's just the weather and then the berserk staffs in COG and the final chapter. I just thought of a last minute limit.
Those are pretty inoffensive, but
yeah.
What's your limit?
So the limits we already have. We have your arena limit, your GBA arena limit. We have more consistent stat spreads on certain bosses, specifically ones that get double hard mode bonuses, because that's kind of whack, honestly. Especially the amount that they get is just kind of insane. And then I had limiting the reinforcements on the zone-based reinforcements on Cog of Destiny. Either just have them, or if you really need to, depending on the enemy type, have the number of times they appear, but maybe make them a slightly higher level to offset the XP loss, if you're worried about the ranking system. And I just thought of a last-minute limit that I would like to make for the dragon, the final dragon on Hector Hard Mode. I don't think there should be a random % chance at all that he rolls enough power to one-shot Athos. I don't think he should ever be able to do that. And most of the time, that won't be the case, but like it can happen, and that's stupid in my opinion.
The fact that he has a hard mode strength bonus that is random, that he can just roll 40 instead of 39.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think that should ever be the case. I think that's so dumb.
Interesting. Okay. I don't necessarily agree or disagree, but I think that is a valid, that's fair. The fact that it's random, that it's not all the time,
Yeah.
I think is the thing. Because, like, if it was just hard set that he always has 40 damage, then that's different than sometimes he has 39, and Athos can survive without a hidden Seraph Robe.
Yeah, I agree. I think the point of it being random is like the dumb part, in my opinion. Because if you know, there are plenty of like final bosses in Fire Emblem that like are just so ridiculous that you know certain units either can't deal with him at all, like Shadow Dragon Marth, Hard 5, Medius, like he's just not doing that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And we just kind of know that. Whether that should be the case is a topic for another day. But the fact that you don't know until you get there is like such a dumb thing that like if it was consistently 40 and you're at a point in the game where like, wow, I have maybe lost some people along the way, like some really good units along the way. Maybe I'm relying on Athos a little bit more than usual to just get through the end of the game. And then the dragon rolls a 40 strength and you don't have a Seraph Robe, like that sucks. I just don't like that at all. I feel like final bosses should be like finely tuned to be an exact thing for whatever mode it is every time. I think that's really, really weird.
Yeah, giving the final boss a random, like, coin flip chance of being... Like, sure, coin flip chance of, like, oh, what's the difference of 39 strength versus 40? If that difference turns out to be a very crucial one-shot, maybe don't have that be random.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's
maybe
the thing
make a
too.
Decision.
Like, because
I'm okay if the decision is he will always one-shot Athos without preparation, but make a decision.
Yeah, no, and again, I totally agree. But I just like, I don't know, if it was like, oh, well, maybe he hits for 19 or 20, like, I wouldn't complain about that at all. But the fact that it's like a life or death, literally life or death scenario on the unit that is so ridiculously powerful and is supposed to help you finish the game, I think that's weird. Because if you actually need him, like, badly to finish the game, and then it rolls to 40, I don't know what you're doing. Like, I don't know. That might look pretty ugly.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But again, if it was planned to be 40, I also wouldn't complain. I just don't think it should be random.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay. So that was all the limits. And then the unlimits, we had my Battle Before Dawn rant about making Jafar, Nino, and possibly Zephiel, or some combination, blue units instead of all being green units out of your control. 3 times
Agreed.
Bonus damage for effective weapons in English.
Agreed.
Makes supports faster because it's terrible. And
Agreed.
then the Swordmaster crit bonus as well as the Blade Lord crit bonus being increased. And you could probably buff the Soul Kadi, maybe make the weight of it less or something along those lines. I mean, maybe power.
The Soul Kadi has been dragged through the mud, and that horse has been beaten to death.
Yeah.
Too many times to count.
Yeah, no, it's so bad. Like, I'd be okay with Lyn getting some buffs in some scenario.
Yeah.
And then we also had from you, let assassins still be able to steal. I think that's fine too. And then earlier heaven seals for your lords. Make the lords keep up a little bit better in the grand scheme of the game. And I agree with all of those. Hey, that was a longer list than FE6, I will say. We had a lot more stuff.
It's a game that has more problems and more things that it needs to change.
And so many people will not agree with that, but I do.
Oh, let's let the fire burn. Let's let that fire burn. We are 2 FE6 defenders
yes,
here.
Sir. Yes, sir.
And here's the thing. I don't even hate FE7. I know that there's a joke that, I have a secret hidden group in my Discord called the FE7 Haters Club. I'm not a part of that group.
I am. But, for me, it's half ironic. It's half truthful, but it's half ironic.
FE7 just has a number of very noticeable things once you are more experienced in Fire Emblem that are like, this could have easily been changed here, here, and here to just make it better. And I think that's ultimately what we're finding with these lists, is that Fire Emblem 6's issues, if they are indeed issues, go a bit deeper than something that can just very easily be like, remove this, nerf this, buff this.
Yeah.
It's more of a... Fire Emblem 6 has some fundamental issues to it that you either like or you dislike. FE7 has a lot of more superficial issues that are just like, why is it like this, though?
Yeah, and I would say, like, there are as many, maybe not as many, but there's plenty of people like us that defend things in FE6. We just love it, and people will hate him for opposite reasons. But I feel like a lot of the stuff we talked about with FE7 is, like, pretty universally, like, most people will say, yeah, that's dumb. Like, yeah, rain and snow, yeah, that's dumb. You know what I mean? Like, Cog of Destiny, yeah, that's pretty dumb. I think most people will agree with, like, those sort of pain points as well. They're not really, like, so ingrained into the FE7 experience that by changing them, you're ruining the game or something. They're just kind of, like, bad things. I feel like. But no Fire Emblem game is perfect, and that is okay. So I think that is our final patch notes list, whatever, ban list for FE7. All right, FE8 time. So FE8, I have the least out of all the GBA titles on my list. Mithril says he will have a pretty decent amount, definitely more than me. I will let you lead it off with the bans, sir.
You're gonna let me lead. So yep. I have one. So when we talked about this, a limit was something that you would change or nerf or adjust. A ban is something that you would either fully remove or like needs drastic reduction.
Yes. Basically, like, if it's not a complete overhaul, like just straight up take it out kind of thing.
My ban for FE8 is Erica Route.
Ooh, whoa, okay.
I do not like most of the maps of Erica Route. There's like Chapter 9 Erica Route, I think is pretty good. And aside from that, it's like, why? There's a lot of just why. The fact that in the map where you would get Cormag that like turns into that like defense, I guess Chapter 10 is all right as well. It's just way stretched out and weird. A chapter, I think it's 11 or 12, where you fight towards the ranger boss, and then like I think a mage boss comes in later, or sage or something like that. And then you have to like defend in the middle of the map, and then Cormag comes in on like turn 7, and you have to talk to him with Erica to recruit him.
Oh yeah,
the one
so
like the big mountain
13.
pass.
That is 13.
13. Okay.
Yep.
The fact that you can beat that map by killing the boss before Cormag even spawns,
yeah,
really terrible. And just like, okay, congratulations, you're punished by not getting one of the best units in the game for playing effectively to the objective.
Yeah, and I've brought this up before too about this map with Cormag, and the argument that I heard that why it's not a big deal is that Cormag is just so much better on the Ephraim route, so it's like, it's not like you never get to play with him or anything like that, but
he's the same unit, he just joins like 2 maps later in Erica Route.
And you have to play a map in kind of a dumb way. It's almost bordering again that like toxic play pattern. So in the end, I do still agree. I think that's a dumb
Chapter
thing.
14 Erica, I think, might be the worst map in the game. That's Johanna Palace.
Oh,
because what you have is an extremely thin, like you have the treasure section, which is just right next to your start position, not connected to anything. And then you open up the north door and it's the barracks, and then Renac's there for some reason, and then he just bolts. And you have an extremely thin line that just frames the entire castle with no, like, breakable walls or ways in, that funnels you to one thing at the top of the map that you then have to go through, that you then fight a swordmaster boss on a throne with a wind swords. Where have I heard this before?
Yeah, close enough, right? Kel, is that
It's
you?
the greatest. It's the greatest. Carlisle, is that Kel in disguise with a mustache? It's the great. It's the greatest hits of some of the worst features of Fire Emblem GBA maps. The only thing it's missing is really annoying status tapes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, oh, looks like we could put a berserk right here.
I know. It's one of the things of like, there's a reason why while I've played Fire Emblem 8 like 12 times, I've only played Erica Route twice. And I just dislike the maps in Erica Route so much that I can't be bothered. I think Chapter 9 Erica is great. I like the way that it encourages some value out of Pirate Ross and some of that like giving Tana something to do there instead of just locking her in a jail cell. I think that there's definitely some benefit to some of the maps in Erica Route, but I think overall it is so much worse of an experience that why even bother having that? Maybe we can just make an I wish that the game had a slightly extended Ephraim route instead, or maybe bounced back and forth between the two. Like, hey, while you're on the ship after you beat up the Phantom ship, let's see what Erica's doing, and then you assemble a decently strong army in both sides that meets up in the desert, which would be more like what they claimed to have been copying in Gaiden, or what I think they executed slightly more successfully in Radiant Dawn.
I was gonna say, that sounds like Radiant Dawn.
That's what I would like the game to have been, but instead what we got was this, hey, send your entire army down one route, and then whichever way you didn't pick is just going to have a real hard time with 3 units in a desert between the two in a map. So if I had to just say get rid of anything, I would say get rid of Erica Route.
Okay. I do think I love that idea of like maybe we would just like keep the best of each respective route and just play them straight in the story, like bounce back and forth Radiant Dawn style, and then they come back together on 15. I do agree too, like I never want to go Erica route. The maps are like chapter 9 is fine, chapter 11 I think is fine, 10 is kind of whatever, it's a little sloggy but it's not the worst. 13 is just like a huge clash with the objective, and 14 is just mad tedious and horribly pathed kind of for no reason. I just never want to play that map.
Yeah, and in that case, if we were to divide it up, it's like, okay, Erica will get then Tana, Inez, Garrick, Tethys, Marisa, Ewan, and Sayla, and then Ephraim gets Dozla, La Rochelle, Dwessel, Cormag, Amelia.
Okay. Yeah, because I was going to ask that too, like how would you split the units like for each team? Because you obviously can't have Seth in both places and stuff like that.
Or in terms of like those are the units that you recruit on the path, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can maybe divide, choose to divide your units how you want, but...
Yeah, the only thing I'd say about that is like that's still pretty early in the game to like give the player that kind of a decision. Like, oh, where are you sending Kyle and Ford? Where is Franz going? You're like, dude, I don't know. This is my first time playing the game. Like,
yeah, and I think you have to be really careful with. This is like if I were to say like have like a master cut or definitive edition of like what I would love to have in an FE8 is like you do both routes, you do a split. Maybe they enforce certain units going certain ways, like Seth and Franz, like the Freya squad has to go with Erica, and then Kyle and Ford have to go with Ephraim. But
yeah,
maybe like Ross and Garcia and Nabi and Colm can kind of go with whomever you just, and like Archer and Elut can kind of go with whomever you decide to send them off.
Okay, so there would still be like a guideline of some kind.
Yeah,
with that. Okay.
And maybe there would need to be then some adjustment of like, okay, who do you like? Not having a thief in one of the parties feels bad. Maybe there's some adjustment that needs to be made there, but there's it's not a perfect idea, but it's just something that it's like my dream version of FE8 has something more like that than what we get, which is, hey, pick bad maps or good maps.
Yeah. No, I got you. That is really interesting. So you're basically lobbying for the Sacred Stone's Revelation true ending route.
Sure, if you want to put it that way.
I'm sure you hated that. All right.
You didn't hear the eye roll, did you?
No, I did. I think I did. I hope we got that on the recording. But okay. Anything else for bands?
That's the only band that I have outright, but as we talk, I might come up with more.
Okay. I do see where you're coming from, because like I said, I don't like the Erica route overall either, especially not to pick it over Ephraim's route. I actually don't have any bans for FE8. My like gut reaction was like, okay, well, do we ban like the most powerful thing in the game? Do we ban Seth? But I don't think something just being good is like bannable. I still don't think Seth like really necessarily enforces like super unhealthy play patterns or anything like that. But I will talk about Seth at some point.
Yeah. When it came to Seth, like, because I had that thought as well, like, do we ban Seth? Sethless FE8, is a fun challenge in its own right, but I think the fact is that, we'll talk about Seth when we get into limits, because I wouldn't remove him from the game, I would just adjust how he is presented.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Okay, so I guess we can just move to limits, because I don't have anything for bans.
Fair enough.
So
you want to start with any limits?
Yeah, so I'll start off since we're on the topic. I would limit Seth. And I think basically what you have to decide on here is what you want Seth to be if he's not going to be the bar none best unit for the entire playthrough. I think you either have to reduce his bases so that he's not so ridiculous that those carry him for a long time, or you have to just completely gut his growths. I don't think you need to do both, but I think you should do one of those things. And I also think it can kind of play into the story a little bit too, because like people have these like theories, or maybe they're not even theories, maybe it is like actually part of the story, where that initial opening of the game where Seth takes like a really bad wound from Valter, the Valter fight, maybe his bases aren't super ruined from that, but maybe he took a wound so bad that, he's not really going to get much better after this.
Yeah, that is something that his support with Erica talks about and expands on that his wound is still opening up, it's still acting up, he's still like flinching in pain as he raises his lance. Those are things that come up in his support with Erica, so that is in plain text in the game.
Yeah.
What is supposedly happening.
Yeah. And I think even if you flipped it on its head and said, well, we're going to make Valter like completely destroy his bases in comparison to what they are now, but over time maybe it heals a little bit, maybe his growths aren't so bad, but he'll get back up there one day, kind of thing. I think either one would be fine. I think I would prefer keeping the bases like really crazy good and just making his growths like really terrible, tying in with the story and all that sort of stuff. But I don't think he should be as dominant as he is. Like, we've talked about good Jagans plenty, but no one feels like Seth for the entire game.
Seth is such a good unit that he's a bad Jagan.
Yeah, exactly. He's
in a game like Fire Emblem 8, which is your early squad of everyone you get that's not named Seth, and arguably Gilliam, in the first 8 chapters, can be argued to be a training project. It's like you have Gilliam, you have which one's Ross's dad? What's his name?
Garcia.
Garcia. I knew it started with a G.
Yeah.
My brain is... We've been talking for like over 2 hours on this. Pull back the curtain a bit. Gilliam, Garcia can kind of stand on their own-ish and not really be training projects. They don't necessarily grow that much. And then Mulder. But it's like, aside from those, everyone you get in the first 8 chapters is pretty much a training project. Yet you have Seth, who instead of being able to set up kills, even with an iron sword, and there's no weapon that slows him down sufficiently, will just be doubling and one-rounding pretty much everyone unless it's a boss that somehow dodges because they're on a peak tile.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just he's not a good fit for his game, at least in the form that we got him in the West. I've heard that Japanese Seth is nerfed pretty badly, but I don't remember what those nerfs are, and I haven't actually seen them, like I haven't seen the numbers specifically, so I can't state for sure. But I've heard that he is weaker. At the very least, his growth total is not surpassing that of Erica and Ephraim's.
Yeah.
Which it is in the West. It is too much. I think his growths are too much. I think his bases are also too much. I think both could be and probably should be adjusted down. As for how much, I don't necessarily know. I think maybe a slighter change to both of them, in my mind, beats out a major change to one of them. And I've bounced around this idea in my head. I don't think it's necessarily a good fit for the game, but I've bounced around the idea of making him a Great Knight instead of a Paladin.
Okay. I could see that as well.
I don't necessarily think that's a better choice for the game, because the way that Great Knight Jagans work is that they're fundamentally more sturdy, yet more vulnerable to effective weapons. Like, you have to worry about both hammers and poleaxes, not just one or the other. And that they are less mobile, so they're less flexible in that case, but they are more of a fallback sure thing. And I don't necessarily think that fits Seth's vibe. He's very much established as that fast paladin, get out of there, get in there type thing. But I bounced around the idea in my head of, like, is this a reasonable nerf to Seth? And I think it's a nerf to him, but I'm not sure it's necessarily reasonable.
Okay, that's an interesting thought, though. I think my bigger pain point with Seth here is his growth rates. I pulled up his page just to get the numbers for us.
They're absurd.
Yeah, like, so his bases are HP is 30, Strength 14, Skill 13, 12 Speed, 8 Movement, 13 Luck, 11 Defense, 8 Res, 11 Con.
He can have maybe like 10 or 12 Strength. I think 14 is a bit much because he's one-rounding bandits on hard.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like a slight Strength reduction. Maybe like 11 or 12.
That's the only one of his bases that I think need to really be effective, is that his strength is a little too high for what he needs to be able to do.
Yeah. But his growth rates are just stupid. He has 90% HP, 50 strength, 45 skill, 45 speed, 25 luck, but who cares? 40 defense, and 30 res. That's obscene.
He has one of the highest defense growths in the game.
Yeah.
Like, Myrrh is obviously higher, and I think Gilliam might be higher, but, like, I'm used to, for instance, Kyle being the tanky paladin, but Kyle only has a 25% defense growth.
Yeah, and I know it's from a different game, but, like, Melody from FE6, I'm pretty sure, and Zeus as well. The Wyvern, the Burn Wyverns, the beefy Burn Wyverns have a 25 defense growth. Seth comes in Chapter 1 with 40, that's absurd.
Anything that's higher than 30 is a very bulky unit, because defense growths are one of the numbers you need to be the most careful with in Fire Emblem, and the fact that Seth has 40 is just absurd.
Yeah. So I would be more harsh on his growth rates, I think. But I could see, like, maybe bumping his strength down 1 or 2 points or something like that, maybe 2 or 3. 12 speed is pretty good at the start, but if his growth is so bad, that won't be a problem for too long.
And people are going to bring this up as well, is that Fire Emblem 8, particularly the first 8 chapters, there is a enemies give extra experience, or it's either extra experience or the experience penalty for being high level or promoted is lesser than it is later on in the game. And so Seth even, levels up faster as well in the early game if you use him for boss killing or whatnot. So So that's another thing where it's like, we don't necessarily need that as well. So I would definitely agree that the growth rates need to be cut a fair bit. At the very least, Seth shouldn't be the best paladin of all 4 of your other options by as significant of a degree as he is, as regularly as he is. It's a game with randomized growth rates. Ultimately, there's always going to be the possibility that other units overtake him and he has bad growths, but
Sure.
with his rates, his averages are far better than like pretty much anyone else.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I just compare him to Titania in my head because like Titania also has like pretty solid growths, really good bases.
She hit the cap wall towards the end of the game.
Yeah, but like Titania also will struggle to one-round things later into the game. Seth does not.
Yeah,
Seth, it's just, oh my god.
Yeah, that comes down to Path of Radiance paladin caps. That comes down to Path of Radiance enemy defense design, enemy bulk. But yeah, no, Seth has no problems, and once he starts having problems, it's against really beefy monsters where you just give him Vidofnir and he no longer has the problem anymore because legendary weapon go burr.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're definitely in agreement that Seth needs a nerf. I have another limit. That was one of my limits. I have another one, and it's talking about Volney.
Okay.
If you're interested.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, map skirmishes, no one really does map skirmishes. Everyone who grinds Volney. Everyone talks about grinding, talks about Volney. I think the biggest thing I think is that the first floor of the Tower of Volney is way too powerful for what it is compared to all the other floors. If you actually do all the other floors as early as they're unlocked, they are a pretty reasonable challenge. But the first floor is not challenging at all, has a chance to drop like best in slot equipment. We're talking rune swords, spears, and dragon spears. And the boss gives a guaranteed level up to whoever kills it. It's way too strong, and I don't necessarily, it feels like a DLC grinding map.
Yeah.
It feels of that power of tier.
It's almost like Awakening exponential growth or something like that.
Yeah.
The DLC map.
I think the game is far more interesting if when you run Tower of Volney, you are running the other floors that you unlock as you unlock them. And so what I would suggest as a limit would maybe you get one full run of Volney available, like up to the floor that you have unlocked between each chapter. That way you still get chapter 1, floor 1 to grind up your weaker units, to give a free level up to whoever you want. But if you want more experience, you have to be going to those harder floors. Like even the difference between floor 1 and floor 2, I don't know how much you remember, how much you've done of Volney.
I have never once gone in the Tower of Volney.
Okay, fair enough. Floor 1, you have a bunch of weak Revenants, a couple of Bone Walkers, and then an Entombed boss, who is fully stationary.
Okay.
Floor 2, you have more Bone Walkers, you have some reinforcement Malduins, the centaur, the lion centaurs, from behind you. And then, like, around, like, you go up and around and fight some more Bone Walkers with, like, bows and whatnot. And then you have a promoted Tarvos, like, promoted centaur boss with a bow and an axe, who moves, who is a lot more threatening. Floor 3, you're starting to fight Baels, the spiders, and you have a side chest you can open for, like, 1,500 gold. Floor 4... now I'm trying to stretch my memory of, like, which order am I getting them right. But yeah, there's, like, 7 floors to the Tower of Volney, either 7 or 8.
Okay.
And the floors get pretty significantly harder as you go up them. So when people say, oh, I have problems with Tower of Volney, it's free experience, they're just talking about floor 1. So, and while I don't think that floor 1 necessarily should be changed, because Fire Emblem 8 is a game where you get trainee units, at like chapter 12, chapter 13.
Yeah.
You need a safe place to kind of level them up. It's designed around constantly being able to level up these units. FE8 is the 0 to hero story.
Right.
I think that allowing one access of like one trip to Volney between each chapter will make it more like how skirmishes are seen in like harder modes of Three Houses or Engage, where you don't have to do the skirmishes, you don't have to do the bonus maps, but you're limited in the number that you can do, and so you feel like, I want to do these maps because it's like a lost resource if I don't, as opposed to having fully open grinding where it just kind of feels like, there's like more people are then inclined to not grind at all because it's like, well, if it's fully free to grind, I can always just grind later if I need to.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it encourages the chore mentality too much, but I think that would be, at the very least, people should engage more with the deeper floors of Volney than just floor 1 and judge it based on floor 1.
That's fair. I would also say, like, so I played FE8 like pretty late comparatively in my Fire Emblem journey. It wasn't like one of the first games I picked up or anything like that. So by the time I played it, I knew all about the Tower of Volney, and I knew that it just really wasn't up my alley, or that it really interested me all that much. Not saying I'll never do it, but I will say you brought up a good point about like Three Houses and Engage. One thing I've said about Engage is on maddening mode, you get like, I believe it's 5 or it might be 6 skirmishes throughout the game, and they are set like every couple story chapters, where on hard mode you just get a bunch like kind of all the time. And on hard mode, I never did them. I didn't touch them at all. They're not interesting to me. It's like playing Three Houses and you have like 3 like map battle skirmishes per week, and it's a waste of time. I don't want to do it. But on Maddening,
you'll do the paralogs, but not the free ones.
Exactly, yeah. But on Maddening Engage, getting one like every 5-ish story chapters, I was like, you know what? I'll get some free SP. It's fine. It won't take long. I'll turn animations off. I'm more motivated to do it because it's actually there less, and it's more tailored to like the actual grand scheme of the game as well. So it's more balanced in that way. Like they know by this point you'll have done this thing or these things maximum, and they know you won't have done more than that. So I think that would just make it more interesting as a whole, just to have it there. So would you keep the overworld like skirmishes in FE8? Would you still leave them there with this change, or would you just get rid of them?
I would probably just get rid of the overworld skirmishes. I don't feel like they serve really that much of a purpose outside of being free grinding where the Tower of Volney exists. And if the point of limiting the Tower of Volney is to limit that free grinding, I think the overworld skirmishes should be removed. Like they serve a narrative purpose of like, oh, the world is getting covered in these monsters, you know, it's how terrifying, how bad. But aside from like, there's the one map that only exists as a monster skirmish that you unlock at the very end of the game.
Yeah.
Aside from that one map, there's no reason for all of these monster skirmishes to be on other maps aside from, oh, I really enjoyed that map, let me play it again, except it doesn't have all the objectives and I'm starting maybe in a different place on it, and there's probably Fog of War, and it's just kind of randomized enemies. It just I wouldn't necessarily bother having it at that point, or maybe you would have them be like they exist in lower difficulties, like how Awakening does its grinding, where it's like, yeah, you can grind the overworld stuff and the reeking boxes are pretty cheap in like normal, but like once you get to harder Lunatic, the reeking boxes are a lot more expensive and the enemies are prohibitively strong for you to actually fight.
Yeah, no, that's a thing I do hate about Awakening. On a quick side tangent, it's just that like when you feel like, oh, maybe I would want to invest in a reeking box because I don't want to touch the free levels that the DLC would give me, that's maybe a little too game breaking. It almost feels like cheating. But when you need that extra experience with the reeking boxes, the enemies are so ridiculous that it's not even worth it. So it like
and
also
you're out
defeats the
5,000
purpose.
gold.
Exactly. So it's like, this kind of sucks. We'll talk about overworld map stuff in a couple other entries. But so are we? I'd be fine with that. One Volney trip per story chapter maximum, and on hard, at the very least. With this change, we also get rid of the overworld random skirmishes because it kind of defeats the purpose of the Volney restriction in a way if you do that, or at least seems like philosophically in conflict.
Yeah, and as someone who really likes Fire Emblem 8 and has played, all sorts of different ways and different routes, the only thing overworld skirmishes ever do is annoy me as I'm trying to get to the one armory on the overworld that I actually want to visit.
Yeah, yeah. I do like, though, that in FE8, unlike some other games, like, it doesn't ever get in your way of, like, continuing the next story chapter if you're just playing the story straight up. That's something I ran into, like, with Echoes a lot that I found really obnoxious. But
the reinforcements just keep getting in your way,
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad that isn't a pain point in FE8. But I like these changes. So I think we can ban overworld skirmishes on hard. And then limit one Volney trip per story chapter. If that sounds good to you.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, do you have any other limits for FE8?
Not that I have listed. Not that I can really think of elsewise. I think a lot of FE8, with Seth taken care of and with Volney taken care of, it kind of takes care of itself.
Okay. Fair enough.
Like, the only other one that I have is on Dwessel's map, Dwessel's join map in Ephraim mode. Dwessel has a 0% chance of dying.
Okay.
Maybe there should be some, map pressure on him that's more than just if the one halberd pirate gets super lucky and bypasses all of Dwessel's guards. That's the only way that he can potentially take somewhat significant damage. But, mathematically, he's not dying. You're just timing out, you're dying to the reinforcements that come behind you before you even get to him. is where the challenge comes from that map.
Yeah, and I guess, leaving his lackeys alive to get the Night Crest, but he's not really a danger of dying.
There are some adjustments like that I would make, but that's getting into nitty-gritty map stuff, which we could if you wanted to, but that's kind of where the rest of my limits would be. I don't even necessarily have a lot of them written down.
Okay. The only question that comes up with that is how you go about doing that. Do you nerf Dussel's bases, and then that also is a part of the rest of the game, so that maybe he's more at risk, or do you make the enemies down there more of a threat to him, or something like that? Because then it bleeds into the green unit Night Crest objective as well.
Yeah. And that's the reason why it's I hesitate to write this down on my limits, because it's not a clean, just nerf this or limit this and that solves the problem, because it gets into things of it's just so connected and everything has carry-on solutions. I would need to really go into the map and be change this, don't change this, move this unit here, readjust here. It's a lot of finicky stuff.
Yeah.
In my mind, that what it would take to make the map pose more of a challenge without being aggravating and without ruining Dwessel as a playable unit later on.
Sure, yeah. No, and I understand the hesitation with that. It doesn't sound like it's such a big deal that you're dying to change it either.
No, so it was just one funny comment of hey, I like Ephraim's modes maps. This one map could use some adjustment though, because the loss condition is non-existent.
Yeah, I mean, at least you're not saying to delete the whole thing like Erica's route, so that's a plus.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we can leave that be, but it's an interesting idea to bring up at the very least. And then my Unlimits. Actually, whose turn is it? I think it's your turn for Unlimits to lead off.
Possibly? I don't know.
Yeah.
My only Unlimit is actually pretty broad and bland and doesn't even necessarily apply to most of the game. Let us buy or recharge Dragonstones for Myrrh for the creature campaign without using the enemy control glitch.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Because it means that you basically feel like I can't use her in Lagdao. Otherwise, what if I don't, that means like I use her in Lagdao and then she can never be used for the rest of the time. I have like one chance to use her, and I want to save her for the final floor of Lagdao where there's 8 zombie dragons, It's like,
yeah.
let me... It's open, it's free, I've beaten the game, there's just optional challenges left. Let me recharge the Dragonstone in Darkling Woods or something like that, Let me buy extra copies of the Dragonstone in Darkling Woods, because narratively, it doesn't matter at that point.
Yeah. Now that's a good point, especially because this game does have a post game that is kind of whack.
Yeah, Myrrh is the only unit for whom the post game is not really possible for, solely because of the Dragonstone limit. And I'm fine with the Dragonstone limit in the main game because she levels so quickly and she is so powerful.
Yeah.
And it's so much of an encouragement to level her, but also not overuse her with her 150% defense growth.
Yeah, she's very fun.
It's like fun. I like that minigame. Just let me actually use her in the creature campaign as well.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair enough. I won't argue that at all. And that was your only Unlimit, you said?
That's the only one that really comes to mind that I feel strongly about.
Okay. So my Unlimits are also pretty tame. Again, like I said with the other two, make support growths faster. Support system sucks. It's only better than like FE4's support system. It's worse than any other, I think. And then I'm less worried about this one in FE8 than I was in FE7. But maybe I'm just FE6 Swordmaster biased. I think they should have 30 crit. I don't think that's like game breaking. 1-2 range is still really good in FE8, but I don't think it's as bad as FE7, and that might just be anecdotal. I don't know if you would agree with that.
There are a lot more enemies in FE8 that are 1 range locked than there are in FE7. FE7 has far more enemy mages and far more enemy archers. FE8, a lot of the monsters are 1 range limited, or they have you have the wights with bows and the archmoguls with beams, and then the gorgons, but gorgons are they're made to be super threatening, and they have 3 range, not 2, so good luck. But yeah, I would say that FE8 is a lot less cruel to 1 range, though it still does have some level of the issues of 1-2 range dominance that FE7 has, just not quite as extreme.
Yeah, and I think it would still be a worthwhile change, just because especially if you need a nuke, for some of these monsters, having Joshua go in with more consistent crit rates or something. I don't know, I just think that's fun. I think Swordmasters should be allowed to have fun. And again, I don't think it's game breaking. It doesn't make Joshua meta all of a sudden, but it does make him feel a little more worth using. Because the funny thing about Joshua is his stats are really not that different from Rutger's, but no one talks about Joshua like they talk about Rutger. And it's not just the crit bonus, it's the environment, the ecosystem of the game, but it's really interesting when you actually notice that. And the perception of those two is so different. I think...
Yeah, Joshua has great bulk. His hit points are fantastic. His other stats are really solid, but he doesn't seem as dominant as Rutger is for a lot of reasons.
Yeah. So I think that would just be... And I'm probably going to say this in a good number of games. I'm not going to say every game, because I don't think every game needs it. But
30% crit in Thracia. Let's go.
Well, that's actually not one
You're,
of them.
you're already hard capped at 25.
Yeah, Fergus already has enough crit, and he's not a swordmaster. I don't think we need to add it there.
Yeah.
But like FE9, I'll probably say something like that too. FE10,
Would you increase the
probably
Berserker crit to 30 as well?
Oh, for GBA?
For FE8, for Sacred Stones. I guess, and for FE7 as well, because that is something that's like, because basically in FE8, your swordmasters are Joshua and Marisa, potentially, unless you make them assassins, and your berserkers are Dozla and Ross.
I'm less worried about that, simply because they have a really solid, really consistently available 1-2 range option, so they don't necessarily have to excel at one range as hard. Not that I wouldn't be in support of it for fun factor, but I don't know that they necessarily need it.
Would you give the 30% to Super Journeyman? the secret super training classes.
Yeah, that would be really funny.
Because you're already Super Journeyman is already just worse berserker in every single way.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. Why not?
Doesn't have the con. It doesn't have the strength caps. It doesn't have the water walking or mountain walking.
Yeah,
give it something, Yeah, and exactly. It's like my favorite meme build is Super Recruit Amelia because of the 15% crit on a Lance user.
Yeah.
If that was 30% crit, I would never not do that build, aside from the fact that you have to play both routes to unlock it, and I've never bothered to play Erica route again to unlock it.
Yeah, that's a really funny thought. But yeah, I would say, because the thing with like Gonzalez, right, in FE6 is like, his crit rates are actually kind of a big deal in a similar way, because his drawback is accuracy. He is not consistently accurate like Rutger, but he hits like a truck, and the crit rates can make up for a miss. You know what I mean? There's like some sort of give and take there.
Axe base accuracy of like 50 versus sword's base accuracy of 80 has a lot to do with it.
Yeah, no, exactly. It definitely does. So it's like, I think they both kind of deserve it in FE6 for kind of different reasons. Rutger just kind of not hitting as hard, but he will be accurate. And Gonzalez, like I said, he hits like a freight train, but, you know, he might miss one and then crit the second, and you're fine. But
playing with Gonzalez is playing with the lottery, and I love it.
Yeah, no, I love Gonzo. He's the best. But in FE7 and 8, it's like, what is the drawback of like the class? Besides like movement, I guess. But even then, it's like you have water walking. There's something to that. It's like, well, they have good 1-2 range. They have high strength. Enemy quality is relatively low.
And axes are accurate and just really good weapon types in 7 and 8, where they're not in FE6.
Yeah, so I would say for Berserkers in FE7 and 8, I don't think they need the 30 crit like a Swordmaster kind of would appreciate.
That's fair. Already, if I have a chance to make a unit of Berserker in FE8, I'm doing it. So
yeah,
they don't need a buff.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Swordmaster, it's like, oh, do I really need to do this? But like I said, even if it's not going to be meta all of a sudden, like, let the Swordmasters have fun. That's kind of all I want, honestly.
Marisa needs something.
Yeah, she does. She does.
Look, I don't know what Marisa needs exactly. Like, to be perfectly honest, ultimately, and as much as I hate the way that every hack is constantly like, oh, just add the skill system from, like, Fates or whatever into it, what Marisa does need is some sort of a unique skill.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way to rescue that unit outside of meme tier.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know exactly what she needs, but she needs something. Something big.
Yeah, speaking of skills, I would not change... There's been a discussion in my Discord recently. It's like, I would not change the skill system of FE8 to be more like, you know, Tellius or more like Awakening. I think it's fine skills being limited to certain branches of classes. I think the branching class design is fine. I don't think largely you need to change elements of that.
I agree.
I would maybe say you don't have to play finish both Erica and Ephraim route to unlock the super trainees, but that's kind of a meme in itself anyway, so that doesn't really matter that much.
Yeah. The only thing I would say about skills is just like have a description that is actually illuminating for what the skill exactly means.
And a way
in-game.
to read the description once you've promoted the unit.
Yeah, exactly. So like just be a little more transparent about it, but I agree, I don't think you need to like introduce a skill system or to like buff the skills, because some of the skills are terrible. But like I don't think FE8 was going in to make a very skill intensive unit building experience Fire Emblem. I don't think you're supposed to really play around the fact that the skills are there. They're just nice bonuses when they kind of come up. And maybe you get a little different animation. It looks kind of cool. But the game isn't so hard that like you're fishing for Pierce procs or something like that all the time.
Yeah. FE8 is a game designed to play with who you want and see what they can do with, a cone of choice that's not like open reclassing like later Fire Emblems. It's not made to be a super hard challenging experience. It has some optional difficulty if you want to try Lagdao Ruins on hard, which, to anyone who says FE8 is the easiest game, I encourage you to try Lagdao hard. But, other than that, it wasn't made to be this like super like requiring optimization game. And as such, I don't think it needs to be changed to be more in that direction.
I agree. Alrighty, but that's all I had for the Unlimits. Anything else that popped in your head you want to add?
That's all I had as well. Ultimately, I think Fire Emblem 8, there's not a lot that needs to necessarily be buffed with it.
Yeah, I agree, actually. I think the biggest thing that like you just have to talk about to some extent is Seth. And we did that. Yeah. But I don't think you need to like delete him out of the game or something, because he's like so warping. It is noticeably more difficult without him though. Like especially the chapter where like you're trying to save the villagers from like the spider on the mountain. Like doing that chapter without Seth is rough because none of your other units are bulky enough to just be thrown in there.
Chapter 6 is definitely the hardest chapter in the first 8 by quite a bit. Chapter 9 can then kind of throw people for a loop because it's the first chapter after the split, but it's also the first chapter after you unlock Volney, so you can always just grind to that point if you need more help. But yeah, chapter 6 is definitely one of the first real like, oh, this game actually has some bite to it moments.
Yeah, exactly. And for the record, I do think FE9 is the easiest game in the series, to be honest. I think FE8, especially if you ignore Seth, it is harder, I think.
I don't have any problems admitting that, and I don't think that makes it a bad game by any means.
No, I don't either. Alrighty, so final rundown for the FE8 ban list. I will discuss some of these a little deeper. So we'll just start with the easy ones. Unlimits, make buyable Dragonstones for Myrrh for post-game. That's just, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And then Swordmaster crit bonus, make it 30. Make supports growth faster. And then for limits, we have some notable limits on Seth. Some bases, like a couple points down in a couple key stat areas like strength, possibly speed. But you really have to hammer his growths, I think, like quite a bit. They should not be that obscene. And then we have one Tower of Volney trip per story chapter to reduce the toxic play pattern, the boring play pattern, but still have the option for the trainees that are in this game that people will want to use, like it or not. Which leads us to the bans. With this in mind, with the Tower of Volney, I do agree we should ban the overworld skirmishes on hard. And then the last bit was banning the Erica route. I'm gonna try to talk you off this ledge a little bit.
Yeah, I know that was just going full nuclear.
Yeah.
I don't think the Erica route necessarily needs to be fully removed. I think that there are some elements in its chapters that, like, you know, I could go through with a sledgehammer and knock some walls down in Johanna Palace, you know. Some things can be done, some things can be adjusted to make these chapters not feel terrible. Because it's not like the whole route is worthless, but...
No.
I do agree. I do still think, though, that there are significant moments in Erica's route that just feel really... that just make it a fundamentally worse game to play than Ephraim route.
Yeah, and I agree with that. What I would say and what I would suggest is possibly instead of banning the whole route outright, what I could suggest as one of the major pain points that a lot of people do have is just, we could put this in the unlimited section, just make Cormag show up earlier on the Erica route in that chapter. So that it doesn't so obviously clash with, like, playing well and playing the objective. Yeah, Cormag is, no matter what you do, going to be a little worse in Erica route because he does come a couple chapters later. But don't...
Even if he just starts on the map and doesn't fly towards you until a couple turns in, at the very least you won't have the issue that I had when I played the game first, which was, oh, I'm playing through Erica route. I beat the map. Cormag never showed up, and so I didn't know he was even a unit that existed in the game.
Yeah, you start talking with friends or something like, oh, who'd you use? Like, oh, dude, I love Cormag. He was so cool. You're like, who's that?
I played Ephraim route, and I'm like, this Cormag character is great. Why didn't I get him an Erica route? Erica route. He must just be an Ephraim route exclusive unit. Turns out, I'm just dumb. Well, I don't know if it's I'm just dumb, because this was a genuine blind experience, you know?
Yeah, no, I don't think you're dumb for that. I don't really understand the reason for doing that. Like, I don't know. And especially, there are certain things that, like, yeah, suck on a blind playthrough, but once you know about them, or once you know how to tackle them better, or to plan for them, it's like, it's not actually all that bad. Knowing about this doesn't make it better or more fun. You just question why. Yeah. So I would just make him show up earlier to at least communicate to the player that, like, hey, there's someone here. Do that before you kill both bosses on the map or whatever.
Yeah. So Cormag should appear from turn 1. Some of the walls in Gehenna 14 should be at least breakable.
Okay.
Maybe you could take a pass at, like, balance, like, take another look at Carlisle so he's not just another, you know, Swordmaster Throne boss. I think Swordmaster Throne bosses are fundamentally not fun.
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe that's just me, but especially if we're buffing Swordmaster Crit, maybe don't have a Swordmaster Throne boss.
That's also a good point. That's also a good point. Because, you know, it doesn't just affect Joshua by doing that.
But yeah, ultimately, aside from that, it's like Village of Despair is a boring map. The Mountain Pass is a boring map. The Larachel Haunted House is kind of whatever.
Yeah.
Like, they're all boring maps, but they're not, like, egregious or offensive.
Yeah,
or, like, force you to slow play in order to recruit a unit.
Yeah, and I think, in general, boring is still more preferable for a single map than, like, oh my god, I hate this game, or that is so dumb. Yeah. You know, that kind of thing. So...
yeah. You can get through a bland map and be like, whatever. But going through a map and then being like, oh, what do you mean I missed a recruitable unit? That's going to cause a number of people to just stop playing there.
Yeah, no. Especially if you didn't, like, stagger your save files or something and you can't go back. It's just like, I don't know. I understand why someone would feel, like, really disappointed by that. So I think if we do that with Cormag's chapter, and then I do agree with the breakable walls on the Johanna chapter, maybe with the Swordmaster crit bonus, we do something about the boss. You know, there's a little bit there. Maybe he's not on a throne. Maybe he's just on like a pillar or something stupid like that.
Mhm.
But we're getting into like little things now.
Yeah.
I believe that was the entire ban list for FE8. Unless you have any last minute thoughts.
Nope. That's all I had.
Alrighty, well, that is going to wrap up the GBA Fire Emblem games for our theoretical ban list, patch notes, whatever. I hope you all enjoyed these very long sections where we just yap about these games. If you agree or disagree or think we missed something, please leave it in the comments. I would love to read your thoughts. Thank you, Mithril, for being here, as always. Where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me at youtube.com/MithralZenith. I do a lot more Fire Emblem game mechanic style deep dives. Most recently, I have a video out on, well, fairly recently, I don't know if it's going to be most recently when this goes live, a video out on after talking with Elut about Conquest and me giving it another shot. I gave it another shot, played through it all, and I have a full review of my thoughts now on Conquest Lunatic, now that I've played it. Go and check it out.
Yeah, I'll have your channel in the description as always. Thank you for being here. It's always a blast just to talk about this stuff. And remember, folks, if you hate our ban list, this is what it feels like to play a trading card game. It's really cool, isn't it? Leave your angry comments down below. Thank you for watching. See you later.